Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports, kicking off another day here after some breaking news came down in Eagle Land yesterday. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Tuesday morning, brother?
I'm doing well. Tamu season continues, off season. Big name on the clearance rack. At least everybody projects it as that. But I do think it's a player the Eagles should have targeted. They did target in the end, and they got him. And yeah, I think it's a worthwhile roll of the dice to get Azeez Ojulari.
There you go. Yeah.
I think he could be helped by being on a good team, getting less attention. Although at times the Giants had a decent front, and some of their other issues were elsewhere. But I think it's a good fit for both sides, and hopefully it works out. But I don't think nobody's counting on Azeez Ojulari in Philadelphia. Nobody's counting on him. I think that part of it has been misunderstood by a number of people, not only fans, but people in the media, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up. We'll see how the rotation shakes out. I tell you what, they got a lot of bodies in the room. So yesterday, for those who don't know, the Eagles signed Azeez Ojulari to a 1-year, $4 million deal. For those who have listened to Birds 365 Daily, this is one of the first names John and I talked about when we looked at the free agency list. So we've been talking about him here on the show, and the Eagles bring him in. I do think it's it's a good fit for what they were looking for this offseason. And in other news yesterday, they extended Lane Johnson, the star right tackle, potential Hall of Fame right tackle, one of the best right tackles to ever play. Lane Johnson gets an extension and a bunch more guaranteed money for Lane. So, John, they continue to kick the can down the road on the Lane Johnson contract, but he gets some well-deserved, more guaranteed money for Lane.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't know why anybody would have a problem with it. Technically, he's extended through 2027 now. Gets an extra $30 million in guaranteed money. If anybody deserves that, it's Lane Johnson. And I think from the Eagles' perspective, the void year presumably went through 2030 originally. Now it'll probably just be extended to 2031. It's void years. I don't think they have a problem at all handing over money to people that have earned it, as you've seen with Saquon, as you've seen in the past with their early proactive deals. And this is, Lane Johnson has had contract after contract after contract, and all he's done is performed. And somehow I argue at 35, 34, going into his 35 season, he's playing the best he ever has. So, and he wants to keep playing. I don't know if he'll make it to 2027, but who cares? If anybody deserves it, it's Lane Johnson.
No doubt about it. It's a good stuff there. Did they open up any cap space or room with that? Those type of moves typically give the Eagles a couple of dollars to work with.
Typically, I mean, it's not even filed yet. We got to see the bookkeeping of it. So that's for down the road. But typically when they do this, they do create some cap room. But this is not, as I've said pretty consistently, and this is from the Eagles. It's not from me. This is not a cap space off season. This is a cash off season. And that's what they're more concerned with this particular off season. But typically when they extend or redo deals, they're going to get a little bit of cap space.
We'll see what they end up doing there. Johnny Mac, I have a question about the philosophy here of the Philadelphia Eagles. I want to welcome everybody in. Thank you all for being here this morning. The crowd has been great. The audience, the viewership has been excellent here on Birds 365. The numbers from the season that were compiled last night were incredible from Birds 365. So big thanks to all of you guys for listening in every day, for engaging, for liking, and for our excellent podcast listeners who are so loyal as well. We are jumping up the rankings on podcasts. So big thanks if you listen on podcasts. Much of our audience consumes on YouTube, but there is a portion of you who listen to the podcast. So if you're listening over there, we see you and we thank you and we appreciate you. Don't forget to leave a review on the show because that's how you help it grow as a podcast. So thank you all for being here today. Johnny Mac, the philosophy here in the offseason of the low risk, potential high reward signings. Is it going to pay off for this football team? I mean, I look at the risk as relatively low, but there is a world that exists where all 9 dart throws fall to the ground. I don't think that's going to happen, but there is a world that exists where it could happen. You think the reward here is worth it for the Eagles with what they're doing with all the contracts with these guys?
Well, I saw somebody on social media talk about the risk, and you use that term. I find that there's no risk whatsoever from a business standpoint. I suppose if you want to extend it to the football side, yeah, there's a risk from not, going for more established players. So right. from the business side, there's literally no risk. They could move on from any of these players with not a blink of an eye. Whereas, if you think about certain players, Bryce Huff, you can't do that with. When you make a strong commitment, Carson Wentz back in the day, to a player, there's a greater risk because it comes with a penalty if you're wrong. In these cases, there's no penalty whatsoever if you're wrong. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, a couple bucks, but that's a rounding error for an NFL team. So it depends the way you look at it. I most fans, I presume, are looking at it from a football standpoint. And yeah, I mean, they're not going out and getting players that are potentially big time contributors. Now, could it happen because you hit the home run? Everybody's going to go, you hit the home run with Zach Bond last year.
Right.
But you conveniently forget those people. All the Eric Wilsons and Paul Warlows and Corey Nelsons and every other one-year flyer they took on all these linebackers over so many years that didn't work out.
You forgot the biggest one of them all, Devin White.
Devin White last year, yeah. I'm going back for it's been going on for years in Philadelphia. And it never works. And last year it worked. You're going to count on that again at edge rusher? Could it happen? Of course. I got to go out today. Got to go down to NovaCare at some point today. Hopefully I don't get struck by a car crossing the street. Possibility, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
So that's the point. I find myself doing these backtracks all the time, not backtracks from the standpoint. I identified this player early. I said, well, they're going to go this route in the offseason. This is a perfect player to roll the dice on. His age, there's still some upside. You get him in, there's the Georgia connection. He's going to be comfortable from day one because a bunch of his buddies are here. The Eagles have great interior players, certainly one. We'll see what Morrow can do. They have some upside elsewhere. They always are going to place a big emphasis on the defensive front. It's just a good situation for him to be in. But at the same time, you got to be realistic about this stuff. There's 31 other teams in this league. And this kid plays a position that gets paid. If anybody thinks there's any upside, e.g., example, Bryce Huff last season, 3 years, $51 million. I was thinking about Khalil Mack this morning. He's 34 years old. 34 years old. He got $18 million, real money, not the bullshit. Guaranteed, he got $18 million fully guaranteed for one more year. This is a position that gets paid. And he got 1 year, $4 million. And we don't even know. That's probably not all real money. It might be, but we'll see.
I don't think it's all going to be guaranteed.
You got to be wary of this stuff. I get it. Second round pick. I get it. You recognize his name. I get it. He's from Georgia. I get it. He had some sacks. And by the way, I'm going to advocate to ban the sack statistic from the NFL. It's so absurd that, he's 6 sacks and 300. Who gives a shit? Khalil Mack had 6 sacks in 16 games last year. And I get he got paid $18 million. You know why? Because people fucking know that guy can play. This kid got $4 million. Now, I say it all the time. There's a lot of bad teams in the NFL, but there ain't 31. And this is a position, bad teams from a standpoint of making decisions. And this is a position people trip over themselves to pay. Trip over themselves to pay. So I'm just saying, pump the brakes a little bit. A little bit. I saw one guy said, this is the best young edge rushing room in the NFL.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, my God. This is the biggest need on the Philadelphia Eagles right now. The biggest need. And I think they took 2 worthy chances for where they are in the roster building standpoint with Uche and Ojulari. And I like both of them. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend, all right, that's done. I mean, they are still going to draft. If an edge rusher they like is there, they're still going to draft them.
This will not remove any of those options in the draft or any of those things.
No, not at all. So, I feel like this is a guy advocated they should sign. They did sign. They evidently recruited, blah, 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 as much as you can recruit a $4 million player.
Right.
All that is true. It doesn't preclude them. I remember last year when people got excited about Julian Okwara. He's a 3rd round pick. He's this, he's that. He's this, he's that. He's just as likely to be gone as to be probably more likely to be gone than to be a significant contributor as a top 3 edge rusher, just by the nature of the contract.
I think it could be a contributor here, though. I agree with you that can't get too high on him, but I do think the guy's got some upside. I mean, I know you don't like sacks, but I don't think you amass 22 sacks on your rookie contract if you stink out loud. I mean, maybe he's not great in more, as a versatile player, or he's not good on every downs, but he can certainly get after the quarterback. And if that's all they need him to do here in Philadelphia, I do think he could be a good role player, a good depth piece for that edge rushing room. For a room that really needed more depth last year, despite, going and winning the Super Bowl, they could have used some extra bodies.
I have no problem with those terms. Role player, depth. I have no problem. I think that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
I have no problem with those terms. I have the problem with the people that think
he's going to come and light the team on fire.
Yeah. Which, maybe he does. Obviously he's got nice traits. And I said, I think it's a worthwhile dart throw, roll of the dice, whatever you want to call it. And you always hope to have that lightning in a bottle. And then that's the second part of it. Let's say he comes in and gets 10 sacks as a situational pass rusher. He's out the door next year. You're going to pay him $15 million?
I don't know. We could have said if Zach Bond became an all-pro, he'd be out the door, and he's back.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Everybody's going to default to Zach Bond. What about the other names? What about the 90 other names before you hit Zach Bond? And now it's going to be, all right, well, we hit Zach Bond, so it's going to happen again? Come on.
No, I was just more answering to the point of if he does produce, he'll be gone. Well, we had one guy produce. I'm not saying he's going to produce at that level, but
if he produces, if he's a first team all-pro at edge rusher, forget 15. You're talking 30. Now, if he's a first team all-pro, boy,
I'm going to go ahead and put the chances at below 5%.
I can't believe we're talking first team All Pro, but if he is a first team All Pro, yes, that will change the thinking. But it'll also change that money figure from 15 to 30 and maybe more than 30. Because that is that is a position this league trips over itself to pay.
Right.
And that's one of my biggest concerns, to be honest. Any upside whatsoever, they trip themselves to pay. And they didn't pay him.
Why do you think he was out there till Monday? Because he didn't get what's his name got $1.5 or $2.5 million. He did get a little bit more than Uche, So why do you think he was out till Monday?
Well, there was a little bit of a wrangling between the Giants because the Giants wanted to keep him and the Eagles wanted him. So that probably upgraded his, from 2.5 somewhere else to 4.
Yeah,
get him a little bit more money. So he had a little bit of a bidding war, if you want to call it that, later in the process. So that helps. But yeah, and obviously the Giants are probably a little bit stung by what happened last year. Last thing they want is another player that they didn't really utilize properly or take advantage of to some people's eyes. And all of a sudden he turns into a meaningful contributor for the team that, is in your division that seems to embarrass you on the regular basis. So that probably factors into it. Why was out there so long? Part of it is injuries. I'm sure he's missed 22 games over the last 3 years. Part of it's lack of production.
Right. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I'm not going to go as far as you were telling us to not go, but I'm going to fall right in the middle because I think this guy has traits. I think he's going to get Vic Fangio is going to get his hands on him. And I think the odds are better than not that he will be a productive player on the Eagles because of the circumstance with the coach, the team around him, linebackers. He's playing next to Jalen Carter. Jordan Davis is up on that line, eating up blockers. I'm going to go ahead and say I think Azeez Ojulari is going to be a contributing player on the defense next year.
I have no problem with that. I said that before. I have no problem with depth, contributing role. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with the people that have jumped to best young edge rushing room, best this, that. The Eagles, I've said it pretty consistently on the show. The Eagles are not going into the 2025 season defaulting to Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt as their top edge rushers. They will not do that. They will not do that. I've said it pretty consistently. They've already added 2 Temu bodies. We'll see. Both of them have some upside. I don't by the reaction I got, and this is just personal on my social media. What's Uche? You should be just excited about Uche. From that standpoint, if you use the same, other than the Georgia stuff, the Giants stuff, arguably,
Uche produced when he was
exactly, exactly. So why is nobody hyped about Uche? I don't know, but I think they're both worthy dart throws. But I think as you stand it today, and they added Patrick Johnson as well, maybe he's going to have to move back to off-ball linebacker if he wants to make the team. But
looks like it.
And they have an opening if they move Ben Van Sumer into fullback full time, which looks like it's happening. So, right now it's, you're talking about Smith, you're talking about Hunt, you're talking about Uche, you're talking about Ojulari. You got O'Shawn Mathis, KJ Henry. Keep an eye on the NovaCare complex today, but I'll just say that foreshadowing something. But
there you go.
They need to get better at edge rusher. They can't go into the season just say, "Oh, we're good." They still need to get better. And that could be draft, that could be trade. They still need a headliner, as I said yesterday on the show.
A headliner they need. Let's see what they end up doing. As it stands today, if the season started on March 25th, a week from now, which it obviously does not, would Jalen Hunt be your edge rusher number 2, or would he fall to some of these guys, you think?
Well, I
hard to say.
I mean, yeah, it's a legit competition. Last year, it's one thing about the Eagles, and I've explained, they're not going to hand anything to anybody. Tyler Steen being the perfect example last year. They wanted him to win the job. He didn't. They want Hunt to win the job for what's assembled right now. They want Hunt to win the job, but that doesn't mean he will. And then if they draft somebody at 32, or if they move up to 28 or move down to 35, if they draft an edge rusher at 32 and they're forced to stay, then it turns into they want that guy. That's the guy they'll want to win the job. But that doesn't mean he will.
We'll see what happens. Let's get to a couple supers, and then we'll get to my man, Jeff Kerr. We missed Jeff last week. He was ripping up Disney World like a champion. Brian Pumper checking in. Vikings overpaying for washed is good, but Eagles signing young edge for cheap, very bad. What are we doing here? Comedy.
Well, the contract part of it, how does that not raise a red flag to people?
That definitely raises a red flag.
Because of Zach Bond? I mean, do people not recognize that was an outlier? To count on that and say, well, they found Zach Bond. I mean, go back and look at how many ball linebackers the Eagles tried to cheap it with over the past decade. And as you pointed out, Devin White, the Devin White truthers, and he got $7.5 million. Well, that was overblown, but he could have made up to $7.5 million.
I think Vic Fangio has tilted some people as well. You just saw him come in first year, number 1 overall defense, turn Nolan Smith around, turn Jalen Hunt into a player. Obviously, with the story with Zach Bond, the whole defense, the number 1 overall defense. And was there a real headliner on that defense last year outside of Jalen Carter? So I think that has swayed some people, John. They have major belief in Vic Fangio, and I don't think they're wrong to have.
Well,
that.
I think you should, but one of the reasons why I think everybody should have belief in Vic Fangio, but one of the reasons I love Vic Fangio is because he's painfully honest, and he will be the first one to tell you when you talk about Zach Bond, I didn't know. Watching film, saw some traits, thought he had the instincts to do it. And you said, let's give it a shot.
I'd pay to get Vic Fangio on the record about the Temu signings so far.
Let's give it a shot. And then to his credit, when it started working, he just amped it up and rolled with it, which I think he deserves a lot of credit for. Because a lot of people would have been like, well, I don't believe it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, this guy can play. So he figured it out quicker than anybody else. And he deserves a boatload of credit. But we've talked about Zach. Even Zach is like chuckled at his Pro Bowl incentive and all that kind of stuff. You can't use Zach Bond as your template. Say, well, they gave Zach Bond 3.5. And as you pointed out, Zander, they gave Devin White $7.5 million. So why didn't he work out? Zach Bond's an outlier. Stop pointing to Zach Bond.
I hear you. Sua Blaze says, if Azeez plays a full year, we're in for a treat, Johnny Mac.
Well, and that's another part of it. Hamstring.
I think that to me is the biggest thing, man.
Calf, ankle, toe, 22 games. This is the same people, and I don't know if Suo did. I'm not picking on you, Suo, but all the Dallas Goedert misses 4 games every year. Well, that's not an issue?
No, it's an issue. It's an issue, no doubt. Suo Blaze again says, John, what if he took a pay cut to come here and play? I don't think he did.
What first of all, he's an unrestricted free agent, so he's not taking a pay cut, number one, by definition. Second of all, it's conceivable the Giants offered him $5 million, as a terrible team, and he took $4 million to come to his friends. I doubt it, but it's conceivable. But what are we talking about here? You think if somebody offered him $7-8 million, he's just choosing Philadelphia?
No way. Handsome Hustler says, put Camo body on the back of a customized jersey. I don't know. I might have to add it to the giveaways, Handsome Hustler.
And by the way, of the 9 Tamu signings, this is the best, I think.
There
So
you go.
if you're going to rate them, I put the guys with the highest upside to me are ironically Ojulari, Uche, AJ Dillon. But the guys with the highest floors, the guys who I think will contribute, Adoree Jackson, number one by far, and Harrison Bryant, I would say. The floor players. And by that, I mean they're NFL players that will contribute and make the roster, I think.
And I guess Hewlett's left out of that just because he's
he's going to be the long snapper. He's rock solid, but
yeah, they're not going to bring in a competition at long snapper here.
No.
All right, good stuff, Johnny Mac. Good first segment here. Let's get to Jeff Kerr, our main man, joining the show. Before we get to him, let me tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. Go check them out today. Use the promo code YouTube150. You see it on your screen. And that gives you a 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit. You get 125% on your second and third deposit, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, 24/7 customer support, and they'll even give you your own custom account manager. So go check them out today, and a big thanks to them for sponsoring the 2-hour show today on Birds 365. Let's go to our main man now, Jeff Kerr, joining the show from CBS Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at Jeff Kerr CBS. Jeff, the Disney man returns. What's going on, brother? How was your trip to Florida?
Disney was fun. Clearwater was fun. I traded morons up here for morons down there.
Nice. I was hoping to get a Surly after your travel difficulties.
Oh, don't ever go to the Orlando airport. That's, I told someone off on Twitter Sunday night, one of those, I got to buy an X account because I want to feel important type people. I don't know how some of these people.
Yeah, I didn't know people do that. People do that.
Yeah, and I said,
they buy Twitter accounts of strippers.
It's so funny, right? So this person sends me a picture of the radar, right? About the airport. Oh, I'm sorry, you're grounded or something stupid like that. And I said, this has nothing to do with the storms. I said, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's the inefficiency from just lines at the airport. There's no direction toward anything. They don't tell you where tram cars go. The bathrooms are dirty. It's a mess.
Orlando's awful.
Yeah, and you know what?
By the way, Mike Gill was talking about that yesterday. Orlando's awful. It's awful.
Oh, yeah. Well, Gill even saw that and responded, yeah, I've had problems when it's sunny and 80 degrees.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the storms.
Well, I said, because I was talking about yesterday, we moved you because you weren't able to get back when you're supposed to get back, but because it was windy here. It was windy. It was very windy.
That's what I heard. It's
But ever since COVID, I said yesterday on the show, the airline industry is just giving up. I mean, they're like, all right, F it. You're screwed. You're traveling. Hopefully you'll get there today. Maybe not. We'll get there. We'll get you there eventually. But of all the industries in this country, the worst run is the airline industry. There's no customer service. It's a disaster. They don't try to help the customers. I feel for you. Yeah. And now you got to come back to the Philadelphia Eagles, Jeff, and talk about Azeez Ojulari like he's an emerging Myles Garrett, evidently.
I mean, the guy can get to the quarterback. He can't do anything else.
I'll take it. He can get to the quarterback.
Well, Vic, utilize that. All right, let's pretend he can get to the quarterback. And that's debatable.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I'm really stretching it with that.
You have to explain the contract to me first of all, because I think there's this mentality that he took less money to come to Philadelphia. Maybe he took a quarter less than the New York Giants.
If he took less money to come to Philadelphia, why did it take him 7 days to sign?
Well, yeah, it's part of the process. But is there any belief that somebody offered him $10 million, Jeff Kerr, but he came here to play with his friends and play with the Super Bowl champions?
I think he came here because there's an opportunity to play, and he saw what's at edge rusher.
That's true too. He might get an opportunity. Josh Uche was talking about that. There's an opportunity here, and if you can get on the field, and then I had somebody else saying, why not make it a 2-year deal? Keep him under contract. Well, he wants to get right back to free agency. That's smart.
My buddies in Kansas City and I won't give names, but they're important people in the Chiefs said, hey man, if he gets a sack for the Eagles, he already did more than he did with us.
Yeah, he barely played. But we talked to Josh. He was on Zoom with us yesterday. Was it yesterday? Whatever. Everything runs together. But he's he only played, I think, 87 snaps when he got traded. And it's like, if you're trading for the guy and you're not going to play him, well, it could be the Chiefs' fault or it could be Uche's fault that he did something to piss somebody off.
From what my understanding is, it was more of the Chiefs miscalculated, and they basically put a square peg in a round hole. He just wasn't Spagnuolo, didn't fit that defense.
Yeah. Well, that's part of it. So I asked you about Ojulari. For people said, all right, he's a one-trick pony. Well, Vic didn't seem to like a one-trick pony in Bryce Huff. So why is he going to like a one-trick pony with Azeez Ojulari?
I think it's just an opportunity. I think you got to get bodies, and that's a body. I'm like you, John. They are not done at edge rusher by any. No. They can't be.
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second.
No, I don't either. Something's going to happen. They're going to make a move.
Yeah, I think it's going to be somewhat meaningful, whether it's trade market or draft. And
they all of a sudden they have a ton of draft capital.
Yeah. And they could trade draft capital for a meaningful player. But I find it very hard to believe they're going to go into next season with Nolan Smith and either Jalix Hunt or Azeez Ojulari as their 2 edge rushers. Yeah, I find that very hard to believe.
And Bryce Huff.
Yeah, I we'll see what happens with Bryce Huff. It doesn't make a lot of sense to trade him at this point. You might as well reboot it for 1 more year, see what happens. But if Vic doesn't like the player, Vic doesn't like the player too. At some point, you got to say, all right, we got to pull the plug. If that's the case, and maybe that is, but those 2 players and Dallas Goedert, I don't want to compare them because Dallas is successful. I also find it hard to believe that they're going into a season with Grant Calcaterra and Harrison Bryant or the other kid. I always forget his name.
Kylan Granson.
Kylan Granson.
You know what? I actually liked him in the Bryant signings. I think they provide significant depth.
Yeah, I think Bryant is an NFL player. But again, are you going to count on Grant Calcaterra as the tight end 1 and Harrison Bryant as the tight end 2?
Yeah, and Kylan Granson, who I mean, look, let's be fair to Kylan Granson. Anybody can struggle with Anthony Richardson throwing the football.
Yeah, that's, and I'm not worried about receiving. I'm not. Yeah. They are what they are.
But blocking, yeah.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of 2-way tight ends left in the NFL. There's sort of an endangered species, guys who can be meaningful in the passing game and also block competently. There aren't a lot of those guys. George Kittle, Dallas Goedert are 2 of them. Michael Mayer's a name everybody brings up. That if they trade him, I don't get the Raiders. Why would they trade him? I guess Chip doesn't want to use 12 personnel. I don't know, but why can't you have 2 good tight ends?
I don't know. I don't get a lot of what the Raiders are doing, but I guess they're hitting the reset button. They're probably like, hey, you know what? We sucked last year. We can't get any worse. So let's just keep our only good player we got in Max Crosby, and we'll go from there.
And by the way, Max got paid. Edge rushers get paid, Jeff. Doesn't that?
They always get paid.
Bryce Huff got paid, baby.
Bryce Huff's contract is not even that bad compared to a lot of these guys.
It's pretty bad compared to Azeez Ojulari, Jeff.
All right, talk me down off the contract roof.
About
why?
Azeez?
Yeah. Why? He's 24 years old. Why is he getting a 1-year deal for $4 million? And let's be honest, it's probably not a real $4 million.
I think I kind of said it in the first minute. He can get to the quarterback, but he can't really do anything else.
Yeah, but they pay people who can get to the quarterback and can't do anything else. That's my point.
I'm telling you, he's one of those guys where I know there are people get mad at this, but if you would say Azeez Ojulari is not going to make the 53-man roster, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I mean, the Eagles can move on from all 9 of these players, 8, because Charlie Hewlett, as Zander pointed out.
That's what I got a little upset about when I was scrolling X when I was waiting in lines, and people are like defending Harrison Bryant, and look, I'm okay with that, right? I think he's a good player too. Harrison Bryant, Kyron Granson, Josh Uche, whoever. But I'm like, I hope these guys know they can be cut very quickly.
Oh yeah, they know that. They know the contracts they sign. They're well aware that they could be cut if they don't perform.
Yeah, I mean it's funny, John. I'm shocked we didn't get into, and again, I wasn't on last week because I would have said straight up on here, I don't think CJ Gardner-Johnson's going to be an Eagle too much longer.
Oh yeah, well, we can get into CJ because you weren't here this week. That's the one move that I think surprised some people.
I wasn't surprised at all.
Well, most people, you've seen some of the, shall we say, high maintenance aspects of CJ. And look, I've said it pretty consistently. They need to create cash for impending extensions.
Yep.
Cam Jurgens probably coming first. Jalen Carter's coming up soon, and he's going to reset the market at defensive tackle. Even Reed Blankenship, which I think is a player that will surprise because the Eagles really like him. But
Slay is not wrong on Reed Blankenship.
No. Well, he said what he said was factual, but I think if there weren't the maintenance issues with CJ, they wouldn't have went looking to generate cash that way. So I do think the off the field stuff plays into it a little bit.
I was really bothered by how Darius Slay is all of a sudden a heel. I was really bothered by it.
Yeah, I'm always because Slay is. Slay's got that giant personality, so I think that rubs people the wrong way, which is ironic.
You want these guys to be honest, and then they're honest.
Yeah, exactly. But he was a great teammate. He's always helping younger players. Talk to Quinyon and Cooper, and what he meant to them. 3-time team captain.
Isaiah Rodgers loved him.
Yeah. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves him.
Well, everybody loves him except the guy who got traded.
Well, even he loved him until he told the truth. But yeah, I mean, and funny, I mentioned that on the show. Zander can tell you. Vic confirmed that. Reed's the leader on the field. Reed's the guy who gets people lined up correctly in the secondary. So, I mean, Vic Fangio's already confirmed that.
I had a couple guys in Houston that, Houston Raiders, they wanted to know more about him, why he's on so many teams in all these years. And they like how they got him, but there's a lot of red flags. They were asking me some red flags. And they were watching some of his tape and they're like, "Yikes!" I said, "Yeah, don't look at the stats fully with him."
Yeah, he's a playmaker, but he's also that's another underreported part of it. I think, if there's one guy who freelance, Vic's about discipline, do your job. Bill
He's not a do your
Belichick
job
mentality.
guy. He's an improvise at your job.
Exactly. So that factored into it as well. A little bit too much freelancing, but he makes plays, and that's what people notice. I mean,
you know what, John? This is what always bothered me about this industry. And I had a couple buddies say this to me when I was in Disney, and I'm trying to explain to them, "Oh, it's funny how you say that now." I'm like, "No, I said that to you 2 weeks ago. You just didn't want to listen."
yeah, well, yeah. I'm in that boat all the time.
Yeah, I know. We're all in that boat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a little bit surprised they moved on, because he's not terribly expensive. But I always say it's not just about the moment. And all of a sudden, they lose Mekhi Becton down the road, and now they have another reclamation project. Like, why aren't people more excited about Kenyon Green? I mean, part of it's just,
I am.
part of it's just offensive line, but this guy's the 15th overall pick. So you're talking about pedigree with Ojulari.
Who they liked at the time. They liked him.
They really liked him at the time. And he's working with Jeff Stoutland. All due respect to Jeremiah Washburn, he ain't Jeff Stoutland.
Yeah, this is always like kind of to me, it's a red flag with athletes on social media. When CJ was doing that stuff a week before free agency, I'm like, dude, this is the wrong time of year to be doing that. This is the wrong time. This is how you lose a contract. This is how you may not get a contract. And he should know, because this is exactly what happened to him 2 years ago. Some people don't learn.
If you're in the CJ Gardner-Johnson business, some of this is coming.
Yeah.
You just know. I mean, I'm with that. I try to be as fair as possible. I think the Eagles would have wanted Slay to stay away from his podcast. I think
they would too.
I think they want AJ to stay away from social media. I think they want even Kelsey when he was still playing. It's like, I don't think they loved New Heights. Why would they?
No. But again, maybe I say this as a media member or as fans of like other stuff. Look, I'm a big racing guy. I love when drivers express their personalities. And the biggest problem going on in NASCAR right now is not a lot of these guys do that. And the two that do, everybody shits on them because they express their opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, they want validation. I would say fans of every team, not just the Eagles. They want validation. They don't want honesty. They think they want honesty, but they don't want honesty.
Yeah. So when Slay's honest, oh, he's a me guy. No, he's not a me guy. That's a persona.
Yeah, I think the perception is, and one of the things, it's like, why don't you have Slay on? Why don't you have this player on? Why don't you have this player on? And then you don't want them to tell the truth. Why the hell would I want somebody on who's not telling the truth? It's one or the other.
Yeah.
But they just want, hey, we're great. We won the Super Bowl.
And there are outlets for that. There are.
There are many. That's easy to find.
Yeah.
That's very easy to find.
Yeah. I'm doing this with the Phillies right now. People don't want to hear it. Justin Crawford. Well, I think people actually do want to hear it. Justin Crawford's probably going to be the center fielder of the Phillies by this time next season. I think they want to hear that, but they're like, why not this season? I'm like, because he just got the double-A.
Yeah, sometimes it takes some time. And then, the Nolan Smith stuff, it's like he's garbage, and then now he's foundational.
Well,
after half a season,
he had 4.5 sacks in the playoffs. So people are high on him coming off the end of last year. Nobody's saying
they should be high on.
I agree. They should be high. They should be high on him.
They should be high. Yeah, they should be high on Jalen Hunt. But you can't just pencil him in as a.
He's an all-pro. That's
Yeah.
not how it works.
That's all I'm saying.
You know,
No, but I think he showed enough that you feel confident in building your edge rushing room around the player. I think people feel confident with him as the number one. I certainly do. I mean, I get it. He still has to show more, and I was out on Nolan Smith last year. I didn't think he could show. I didn't think he could do it. Well, 4.5 sacks in the playoffs, my opinion, doesn't mean shit. I like him. I think he has a chance.
you know, I said the same thing.
I think he has a chance too.
Yeah,
but-
I said the same thing 20 years ago with Derek Burgess. I loved Derek Burgess as a kid. I always thought if he could stay healthy, he would be that type of player. And he has that big playoffs in 2004 with the Eagles, leaves for the Raiders and free agent. I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of money to give to him. But, you know, let's see if he can capitalize on it. He led the NFL in sacks one year. He lived up to that contract.
Yeah.
He's a good player. It's, you know,
I think he's has tremendous potential. But again, if you look, this is a position that the NFL is obsessed over because the mentality is either get the quarterback, and if you don't have the quarterback, you better get to the quarterback.
look at the 10 highest paid non-quarterbacks in football. You see the two positions that are paid, John?
Yeah, I mean, well, edge rusher, and you know, there's certain positions. Andy Reid's whole philosophy holds up. You got to pay your edge rushers, you got to pay your corners, or you know, the best case is you draft them. The best case is you draft good players, and then you at least have them under somewhat cost effective for 3-4 years. And for the bad teams, they look at it as first round picks, top 15 picks. It's generally, if Tony Dungy, I'm going to butcher this, used to say, if you're in the top 15, you got to get somebody who either throws or scores touchdowns or prevents touchdowns if you're in the top 15, because those are the players you're going to have to pay down the road, pay extent. So you want quarterbacks, wide receivers, edge rushers, cornerbacks. Those are the guys you're going to have to pay.
I have to ask you, what are your thoughts on Trey Hendrickson?
Very good player.
That's how I feel.
Very good player. Well, that's what I was talking about. Think about the best edge rushers in the NFL. I'm talking about the Myles Garretts, the Aiden Hutchinsons, TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons. If you want to go Will Anderson or Danielle Hunter in Houston, because they got two of them.
Yeah, they're blessed.
And they gave away a third. Jonathan Bernard.
Max Crosby. We forgot about him.
Max Crosby. Even Brian Burns in New York is a big time pass rusher.
Joey Bosa is a big time pass rusher.
Joey Bosa has been. Those are, and there's probably a couple I miss.
There's always a couple we miss, right?
Those are the best.
Who's the kid on Miami? That's.
And by the way, Jared Verse already belongs in that conversation.
Yeah.
And I believe that after talking to Jordan Mailata, he already belongs in that conversation.
Will McDonald's another one. That's all of a sudden he's really good.
My point is that is a premium position in the NFL. Premium position. And the Eagles know that better than anyone.
And that's why I think they're going to.
And that's why I don't think they're done by any stretch.
No, they're creating something to pay that type of player.
Well, hopefully you can draft him again.
Well, yeah. Well, you could do that too.
And hopefully they have drafted him and Nolan Smith. Hopefully they have.
But there were guys you could get in the back end of the first round.
Yeah, they got Nolan Smith at 30. You know, but one of the things, you know, there are some size concerns with Nolan. You know, there are going to be adjustments. So I do have to see more, but he's incredibly gifted from an athletic standpoint.
I think it also helps you got that beast in the middle.
Well, yeah, that helps.
Yeah, that helps.
That helps. That helps a lot. But I'm not going to blame him for that. You know, I hate when people do that to quarterbacks. So, yeah, you take advantage of your best players. Everybody plays. You think Mekhi Becton wasn't helped being next to Lane Johnson?
Of course he was. He was helping next to Cam Jurgens.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's I thought some people about the Chargers. I said, you guys got a good player, but I just hope you guys know they're a place where Lane Johnson and Cam Jurgens make this guy look really, really good.
All right, let's talk about Mekhi. 2 years, $20 million. Now, obviously, the Eagles are being very cost conscious this offseason. So there was no way they were paying that deal. But from your perspective, do you think they should have paid that deal?
I think when they traded for Kenyon Green, Mekhi Becton was gone. I think he was out of the price range. But I did not think that was too expensive for him. I thought that's around what he was going to get. But, I was talking to some people when I was in Clearwater later in the week about it, and it just seemed like he had one foot out the door, but he was waiting for the Eagles to count.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, he was a great story.
He loved it here.
Yeah, he loved it here. He reclamated his career here. He came here to work with Jeff Stoutland, and it clicked. But if you think about it, they're already paying Lane, and they gave him more guaranteed money. They're already paying Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson. All of a sudden, here's Cam Jurgens, who's going to get an extension near the top of the center market. Very difficult to pay 5 offensive linemen $10+ million. That's where you're headed with Cam Jurgens.
Right.
Think of the players you got to pay on this team. And you already paid Zach Baum. You got to pay Jalen Carter. You got to pay Quinyon Mitchell at some point. Cooper DeJean at some point. Reed Blankenship. Cam Jurgens. You can't pay them all.
Yeah. So it's difficult. So I've dubbed it the Tamu offseason. All 1 year contracts.
Are you going to put the whole the ad placement on X?
Sure, why not? Well, that's part of the reason I'm annoyed by the ads, but obviously they work. The whole philosophy of what they're doing, like it, dislike it, understand it.
I get it. Look, even with all these moves, they're still they're a Super Bowl contender because they have the talent.
Are they still, and it doesn't matter, understanding that it's March 18th. They're not playing on March 19th.
No,
so it doesn't matter.
I have to rank the NFC teams by tomorrow, by the way. So.
Well, who are you ranking are they still number one? After all, they're pretty significant attrition. Pretty good players. Are they still number one?
People don't want to hear this. I still think Detroit's the best team in the NFC.
Now, they lost their coordinators.
Yeah. I know. Well, see, that's the thing. Talent-wise, I think but we saw what happened when the Eagles lost. And it's not just the Eagles. This happened to the 95 49ers. This has happened to the 05 Patriots. So that's why I'm ready to – This is how I would do it. Talent-wise, I think it's the Lions. But coaching-wise and talent-wise, it's still Philadelphia.
Well, why do you give the Lions the edge? I'm curious to hear this. Because I
they're getting a lot of players.
Team, but
they're getting a lot of players back. They're beating Washington if Aiden Hutchinson and half these guys on that defense playing that playoff game.
By the way, you talk about a foundational pass rusher. There's a foundational.
That's a foundational.
Yes,
pass.
That guy is going to be the highest paid player in football at some point, probably this offseason. But
hopefully he's healthy. By the way,
but them losing Carlton Davis was big, though.
Yeah, it was. Did you guys see his opening presser? Where was that? Where was that? New England. That was pretty funny.
It was pretty entertaining, honestly.
Yeah, he thought he was getting claps from the press corps. They're like, "We're not clapping.
We're not clapping.
Yeah, we don't like you that much."
Yeah, it was funny, but no, I think the Lions are good. I don't know. Lost both.
You know what? I think Commanders fans need to pump the brakes a little bit. You're going to play some real teams next year.
I don't know, man. I'll tell you this. This is why I like the Commanders. I'm more confident in Jaden Daniels than I am in Jared Goff.
That's fine. But you're not winning games on Hail Mary throws. You're not winning games because
That's true.
they won 6 straight games pretty much at the buzzer last year. That just doesn't happen.
And by the way, I don't like the moves the Commanders made this offseason. I really don't. I don't think
You don't like
good.
the Tunsil move?
The Tunsil move is
I like the
That's a
Tunsil
great move.
Yeah, I do.
I don't like the Debo move.
Yeah, I don't
love
either.
the
I thought that
Debo
was
move.
stupid.
Yeah.
I don't love the Debo move. I don't love the Javon Kinlaw move.
Why giving $15 million to Javon Kinlaw?
Yeah, what are
they brought back both their tight ends and Zach. I mean, Zach Ertz was good, but I mean, he's 35. He's not going to be a difference maker for you. I just don't think they got that much better.
Now,
Yeah, you know what, guys? They paid for the high end Temu players.
That's true. I'd rather pay for the low.
Well, yeah. You're not.
If you order something from China, though, John, you get the $1,000 China thing. It's still freaking made in China, or the $150 China thing. I don't know. I'll take the one.
You don't get $15 million players at Temu. That's not the point. You might be wrong about the player, and I think they're wrong about Debo Samuel and Kinlaw specifically. I assume Adam Peters is like, oh, I know him from San Francisco.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. It's the San Fran connection.
Yeah, but they're not Temu players. What if I could tell you J.J. McCarthy's going to be a star? Minnesota may have had best free agency of anybody.
Minnesota had a really good free agency. Oh, and by the way, even if they do get Aaron Rodgers, which I don't think they're going to, I don't think they want him. I still think it's good free agency class.
Well, it's great because they've had issues with the interior, and they get Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave on them both sides. They finally got rid of Garrett Bradbury. That might win them the Super Bowl right there.
I thought that too. Isn't Ed Ingram gone too?
Yeah, Ed Ingram's gone, and they replace him with Ryan Kelly and your guy.
Yeah,
Will Freeze.
Yeah, Will Freeze. He got paid
$88 million. For those who don't know, and he's admitted it, so I can say it, Kerr named his dog Barkley because he's a Penn State guy. It should be Freeze now. $88 million. You got to get another dog and name him Freeze.
No, because I have a good friend with the last name of Freeze, and he'd probably be flipping out if I did that.
All right. $88 million. He deserves something named after himself.
I said, Will Freeze get $88 million? That turnstile when he was at Penn State?
Yeah.
Jeff,
man.
you really named
No, he's
dog
actually a solid
Barkley,
NFL player.
You really went down the Barkley route for your dog's name, didn't you?
Yeah, why not?
It's a good dog.
It is a good dog name. It's a good dog name.
And you know what? Yeah, I have a nickname for him. It's Barky. So he likes it.
There you go. That's good. That's all that matters is that he likes it. But
it's a Penn State dog.
Freeze. Yeah. Freeze is he might build Penn State a new facility. Will Freeze. So much stinking money he got.
By the way, John, anything you want to know up at Pro Day next Friday? I'll be up there.
Yeah. Measure the 40-yard field because I'm convinced it's 38 yards at Penn State. I'm convinced they're shaving times. Because every year
I joke with a couple current players about that. I'm like, I'll see for myself.
Yeah. Make sure you measure. Bring a 40-yard measurement because I guarantee it's 38 yards. Because Penn State is famous for fudging their numbers.
I wonder if Abdul talks next week because he's supposed to be
there. Yeah, well,
he's
Abdul
top 5, right? You think he's going top 5, Jeff?
Yes.
Oh, he's got to go top 5.
He's a player, man.
I think he's the best player. I think he's the
only reason I said it is because I do think that surgery thing is a little bit odd. He's like, I don't want to get the surgery. He might end up having to get the surgery. You know how that goes sometimes with players. So I don't know how much of a factor that would be, especially if you're picking in the top 5.
You know, it's so weird because I think overall he might be the best player, but I wouldn't pick him at 1.
I would.
So you would? Okay.
This is a garbage quarterback draft.
It is.
Cam Ward's going 1.
Oh, by the way, Cam Ward is better than Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, God, yeah.
I am so sick of Shedeur. I am sick of Dion. I hope
Cam
the
Ward
kid's good because
deserves...
I root for players, but dude, I'm just sick of the Sanders act.
Cam Ward is a legit first-round pick.
Yeah.
If this was last year, where you had all the quarterbacks. Even if you go down to
Cam
Penix
Ward went top 10.
and
think.
McCarthy, he would have gone behind. Obviously, where'd it go? 1, 2, 3.
It went 1, 2, 3. McCarthy went 10.
But
Bo Nix
he
went
would have
12.
been.
Penix went 8.
Went 8.
Penix
I don't
went
know
8.
about Penix, but because he won 8, he would have went behind McCarthy. He would have been the 6th quarterback in last year's draft, ahead of Nix. And by the way, after Bo proved himself, probably not deservingly, but I think he'd be the 6th quarterback in the draft.
If you had to rank the 6, would you go Daniels, Nix, 1, 2?
I'd go no. I'd still go I'd go Daniels 1, but I had Daniels 1 last year.
Yeah, I did too.
Williams would still be 2. I think you got to give him. Chicago's done a nice job as well.
I love what they did with that offensive line.
Yeah.
Then getting Joe Thuney and
they've done so I got to see him with an offensive line plus Ben Johnson. He's finally got a coach that will help him. So I still have some hope for Caleb Williams.
Who was the center they got, John? They got a good center too.
The kid from Atlanta, Drew.
Drew
Drew
Dalman.
Dalman, yeah. He's a good player.
Yeah,
Drew
Dalman.
I was hearing from some people in Chicago, like they're not ruling out bringing David Jenkins back. I don't know where he's going to play, but
yeah, I thought Cincinnati. I thought Cincinnati was going to get him, but they're spending so much money.
I think Burrow forced their hand.
Yeah, maybe.
I think he did. I think it was, from what I was hearing, it was, you better bring both of those guys back or I'm going to ask for something you don't want me asking for.
Yeah, but and then getting back to the quarterback, Straight May, hopefully New England doesn't ruin him, but he's got tremendous talent. And then I'm not sold on Penix. I'm not sold on McCarthy by any stretch, but
that offense, there's a lot to help JJ McCarthy.
I think they're better prospects than Cam Ward.
I think there are two, but I like them. Like
Cam Ward's growing on me a little bit. Maybe that's what happens to NFL teams. He's growing on me a little bit as we get a little closer.
I mean, John, if you're the Giants, I know the Giants suck, but if you get Cam Ward, you got to be doing cartwheels, right?
If I'm the Eagles, I'm doing cartwheels. That's another 4 years of misery for the Giants.
I don't know. I don't think Cam Ward will be. I think I'm not as sold on Sanders and the other guys.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
If they get Sanders, yeah, he's much better than Sanders. I think he's a legitimate first-round pick. I think if it's a normal year, he's probably 15 to 20 range.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not that he's not.
The one thing I like about him is he can escape the pocket and he still has that big arm ability where he can throw the ball down the field. Doesn't struggle with that at all. So, that's one of the reasons I think rookie quarterbacks have succeeded so well in the NFL recently is because, it used to be you're a pocket guy. So until you learn how to dissect the defense pre-snap and know what coverages they're in and make the right read, you're not going to be good. Now with the dual threat, they can break down. If a play breaks down or they don't know their defense well, they can roll out, make a play, make something happen with their legs. So I think Cam's going to have the chance to be.
I want to ask you. I want to ask you guys this because it doesn't bother me as much, but what do you guys think of Shedor's attitude? Because that was a big talking point at the combine.
It doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me,
man. It doesn't bother me.
His dad had an attitude. So what?
Yeah, I mean, look, these
Dad's
are great
in the Hall of Fame.
Sometimes those attitudes are what make players great. This is a physical sport. This is an alpha dog versus alpha dog sport. If you go in there with the wrong mentality, you're going to get squashed.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you guys about my one-on-one interview with Dion a couple years ago?
No.
Did he make it? Did he make you call him coach?
So this is my response to him. So he said, "You will call me Coach Prime." And I said, "I'm not going to do that. You were not my coach. You were never my coach. I will never, ever, ever call you coach anything." And he said, "I really respect that answer."
Wow.
I said, "I'm not going to do it." I said, "You were not my coach. You were my coach. I call you coach all day long. I still call my coaches coach."
I have no respect for any reporter that would call him Coach Prime.
Oh, I don't call anybody coach. I
couldn't
can't
make the argument. What's the difference in calling Slay? mean,
Well, he
stays out in
prefers
Pittsburgh.
because
Yeah,
I
he
always said-
prefers that.
yeah, he prefers it. I don't have any problem. Like Josh do you like Josh or Joshua? Josh
Right,
is
yeah,
Josh.
that's fair. That's
I
fair.
have no
like I don't go by Jeffrey.
Yeah, I'm not calling people titles. I mean, yeah, as Jeff said, he's not my coach. I call
Yeah,
Nick.
that's different. That's true.
I mean, John, are you John or are you Jonathan? Like, was your birth name John?
Yeah, if I prefer Jonathan, I would call myself Jonathan. But the point is, I call Nick Sirianni Nick. I call Jeffrey Lurie Jeffrey.
Yeah, that's what he prefers to be called. And it's
Right,
funny,
that makes sense.
as a Jeff, and who had a best friend growing up named Jeff, they always tried to separate us with Jeff or Jeffrey, and he always said, "I don't want to be Jeffrey."
There was
he wants to be Jeff.
There was a whole influx of media people in this town, and you know who I'm talking about. If you're listening,
I do.
I'm not going to roll. They would call Ed Snyder Mr. Snyder. I'm like, no, don't do it.
Yeah,
but they would. And as you see, everybody in that building calls Jeffrey Lurie Mr. Lurie, as they should.
Yes,
he's their boss. He's not my boss.
Yeah, I don't work for him.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey has no problem with it.
That's one thing I
can't say that.
I always liked with
Ed
a lot
Snyder.
of the Philly coaches. Like Ray Rhodes was always Ray. Andy Reid was always Andy. He's still Andy. Chip was Chip. Doug was Doug. Nick was Nick.
Yeah, that's their names.
Yeah, exactly. It's simple, right? Oh, coach.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
My coach.
Yeah,
it's a good story though with Coach Prime.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because we had a great interview after that. I told him you were one of my best interviews. This is back when he was at Jackson State.
I've always liked Dion.
I told him I'm rooting for you, man. And like he said, I really appreciate that.
I've always liked Dion. I've liked that he does it his way. I think he's been a pretty good role. I mean, the one thing I do like is I think he's trying to mold men, not just players. And I like that about him. But
I defended him when he was like going off on his little like media stuff and he's kicking out media people and this and that. I'm like, you guys do know all colleges do what he's doing. Every single Penn State has the king of doing that.
Yeah, you and Penn State, man. But
I'm just telling you.
Will Freeze is the new king of Penn State.
I mean, you guys saw the Penn State debacle this year when something came up with Franklin and this university read a statement. By the way, the guy at Penn State PR I went to school with, nicest guy in the world. First question was about this controversy. Franklin goes back to the back of the press conference room behind like the banner, and the PR guy comes out and reads the statement again. I'm like, what a Mickey Mouse organization. How the hell does this team win football? Well, they don't win the big football games.
There's the Penn State angst coming out. They can't win the big one.
They can't. Am I wrong?
Are you a Franklin guy?
I like him.
I am.
I like him, but John knows, what I call him.
Oh man, I am not a Franklin guy.
I think he does a good job at his job description. I think he does a good job. They are one of the best recruiting. They get some of the best talent in the country. That's his job.
Yep. I mean, look at the players they're producing in the NFL.
Yeah, look at Abdul Carter. Look at all the Penn.
Tyler Warren.
Yeah, Tyler Warren.
You're right. Penn State's got one of them. I mean, the Eagles got one of them.
They got. You're right about that, John. I agree with that.
Hey, Chris Godwin's a really good player.
Not my favorite guy. I'll tell you that much. Not my favorite.
I don't know him from.
All right, Jeff. I want to circle back on something.
I will say this: as someone who's talked to him a bit, he is a nice guy. But as a journalist,
nice doesn't mean too much to me. But let me ask you this, Jeff. I want to circle back on something. All right, I'm going to go all the way back to the edge rushers. I know there's 5 of them right now. Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff, Jalix Hunt, Joshua Uche, and Azeez Ojulari.
What about KJ Henry and O'Shawn Mathis?
Yeah, come on,
all right, fine. You if you want to rank them all, rank them all. Who are the top 5? What's the top? Because right now, we're laughing about Azeez Ojulari. I said, John,
I'm not laughing at him. I said they should
number 2 edge on the team right now. He could be.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he is, but he could be. What's your ranking of these guys, man?
all I'm trying to say, by the way, you're right before you do it, Jeff. You're right, Zander. That's a problem. That he could be the second best.
Yeah,
That's the
I
problem.
know it is.
You're right, Zander. That's the problem. I agree with John. You're right. That's the problem.
Yeah, it could be. But
No,
here, the ranking.
okay, I'll rank them quick. Nolan 1, Jalix 2. Josh Uche is going to be 3. Azeez 4. Anybody over Bryce Huff is 5.
Wow. John had Huff at 2 yesterday.
Yeah. By the way, there's 2 different equations. There's the Eagles equation, which they want Nolan to be 1, Jalix to be 2, and then you can debate. They might want Bryce out. Then you could, I would say, Azeez 3. I'm taking Bryce up out of it. Azeez 3, Josh 4, then Patrick Johnson.
I'm the guy flipping out. I'm the guy flipping out in line for Space Mountain last week because they lost Oren Burks. I'm like, who the heck's going to play linebacker for this team?
The problem is, I think Zander's right. In the reality of the situation, again, taking Bryce up out, Nolan Smith is 1, Azeez is 2, Josh is 3, Jalix is 4. Just in where they are in their developments. And that ain't good enough, that second list.
No. I'm telling you, this fan base, they're going to be pretty excited if they get somebody, and I think John knows where I'm going with this.
Yeah, well, they should be pretty excited, but I don't think it's over at edge rusher. I refuse to believe it's over. With
Wait,
this.
Jeff, what are you referring to, Jeff? You can't.
They're going to get a big time pass rusher. I don't know who it's going to be.
It's not going to be Trey Hendrickson, is it?
I don't know. I mean,
too expensive.
That's what I thought.
He's too expensive. I don't think he'll be back with the Bengals, though.
I don't think he's coming here for $4 million.
Maybe. If you add a 0 to it, he might come here.
Yeah, maybe add a 0, maybe 40.
And you know what? I'd pay him.
I don't know, man.
I'm not going to go 40, but yeah, he's closer to. I'll tell you what, he's closer to 40 than 4.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I give him 2 years, $80 million, and say, "Come play edge rusher." That'll work.
He's really good. He is really good. I don't know. It's because he plays in Cincinnati, but boy, he has been productive.
Man, he was good with the Saints, and it just went so unnoticed.
Yeah.
So unnoticed. That's another thing, John. One off-season move of the Bears I like. My boy is their defensive coordinator, back where he belongs.
Who is their defense?
Dennis Allen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Back where he belongs.
Yeah. Well,
that defense is going to be top 10 again.
Yeah.
As a head coach, I think Matt Eberflus was a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
He was a bad head coach, though, man.
He was a bad head coach. He was a really
I can't be out on Caleb Williams. I think the guy's got skills, and he's got Matt Eberflus as his freaking head coach.
Well, Caleb Williams, nobody doubts that. I think nobody doubts that Caleb Williams has everything you need to be a good quarterback from a trait standpoint. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, Cam Ward is not even close to Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, or Drake May. Not even close. Then you can start the debate with Penix and McCarthy.
So you guys remember Eberflus's last game on Thanksgiving, right?
Oh, God.
I always get the Lions game on CBS because my family or on Fox or whatever. I always get the early game. And I like doing the Lions game. I like doing the tradition. Even when the Lions sucked, I like doing the game. But I said to the guys I was working with that day, it was only 2 of us, and it was one of my editors because he grew up a Vikings fan, and we were laughing. How is Eberflus going to screw this game up? And it was the third quarter, and when it was happening, we're just like, "Oh, this is gold. Let's go! Look, let's hope they can't get the playoff." And
I've never, you know, who screwed up? That was the biggest screw up on Thanksgiving since Jim Schwartz.
Oh yeah,
getting the penalty from frustration for throwing the challenge flag. Yeah, that was the biggest screw up.
I'll tell you what, there were a lot of famous screw ups on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Leon Lett. That was Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
That was Thanksgiving. The coin toss incident. That was Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Phil Luckett. Yeah.
You get some memorable moments on and it's always like the two
Disasters.
marquee games. Oh, you know what else is on Thanksgiving? The butt fumble.
Yeah.
Ah,
Somebody
yeah.
put that in the
Butt
chat.
fumble.
Butt fumble. Yeah.
Yeah,
Butt
butt
fumble.
fumble. Yeah, butt fumble's Thanksgiving night.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Butt
Good
fumbles.
pull. It's a good pull, Jeff Kerr.
I love the NFL on Thanksgiving. I actually have, and the NFL, I actually contacted the NFL on this, and they started doing it. I said, hey, I got these Thanksgiving numbers here. Can you guys run them by, like, the most rushing yards, most passing yards, this? I was getting this from some of the teams, and the NFL said, we can use this. And, they start keeping track of Thanksgiving and Christmas Day numbers.
The king of stats, Jeff Kerr, getting the NFL to get
I always have a
Thanksgiving
stat.
stuff.
I will always
All right,
find
give me an
stuff.
Azeez Ojulari stat. He's got 6 sacks and 300 snaps. That means he's, I don't know, Dwight Freeney? I don't know. What does it mean?
He might be.
You gotta have something good for me, Jeff Kerr, that I can use.
You know what? I'll look it up and I'll send it to you guys. And you
All
can
right.
use it.
What about any other stats? You got to have a stat on somebody.
This is my
some
first
of the team
day back.
signings. Give me one stat on one.
Yeah, he's on
team
vacation. He's we're
Yeah,
putting him on the spot.
right.
I'll tell you what. This is the first time I've been on this computer in 11 days.
I thought I saw you put out a good stat on your Twitter when you were over there, and then I said to myself, "I'm like, Jeff, enjoy Disney World. What are you doing on Twitter?" I think I said that to myself.
Hey, you should have put that on there. I would have agreed with you.
I thought I remember saying that to myself. It was right before your photo.
Well, you know, this is what happens when you wait in lines because you can't get lightning lane for everything.
Lightning Lane at the Magic Kingdom. Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
When are you going on the Disney cruise?
I'll never go on that.
Disney cruises.
No, I like the parks, man.
I don't go on cruises. No.
Yeah, I'll go to Epcot and
Cruises.
I could stay in Epcot and drink all day and ride all day. I could go to Hollywood and do that and just ride all day. But man, I'll tell you what, I love getting a drink from every single country.
There you go. Wait, John, you're a cruise guy, John?
Oh God, no. Cruise.
I was gonna say,
yeah, I won't do
if
it.
I had to guess, I would not guess you as a cruise guy.
I'll tell you what, you might as well hit the iceberg now.
Here's $5,000. Can I get my Legionnaires right away?
Yeah, really.
Screw that German.
You know what? The way the airline
disgusting.
industry's going, I'm not sure if I want to go on planes anymore.
Yeah, seriously, it's true. That's true.
I mean, that was the first issue of the entire day. After I was already complaining about how bad the Orlando airport is, I get on my Delta flight, and the hydraulic fuel pump's busted. I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't take them.
Well, you're supposed to say untitled airline and then say Delta.
No,
rhymes with Schmelta.
I believe in accountability, so you're getting it.
Yeah, well, airlines are the farthest thing from accountable. Jeff, one more question for you on the Eagles. I think we didn't talk about this today, and it happened last week when you were out. The C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. Like it? Dislike it? Where are you on it?
We talked about it. You were doing other stuff.
Oh, I was producing.
You were producing.
Yeah, you were doing your job.
I was doing the other part of my job. My apologies, Jeff. All right, Jeff.
Not surprised at the trade, but I like the return. I thought that was a good player-for-player trade.
Oh, so you like Kenyon Green?
Kenyon Green, baby.
I do.
15th overall pick.
And they like him too.
They liked him. I don't know if they still like him after
well,
watching that Houston tape.
You
But
know
they
what?
traded for him.
Hey,
They traded
watching
for him.
that Houston offensive line last year got Bobby Slowick fired.
Well, now they got Ed Ingram. That'll help.
Oh yeah, they're much improved.
Well, I think.
And Tunsil's gone. What are they doing to C.J. Stroud?
Speaking of Kenyon Green, I'll give you a stat. I'll give you a Jeff Kerr stat. I believe he was 4th worst when it came to pass protection, giving up pressures.
Yeah.
You know who the worst was? Ed Ingram.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has to be Ed Ingram.
Oh God,
Really bad.
Somehow they got worse.
Yeah. So the other, I'm with the one that grew up a Vikings fan. I asked him yesterday because I'm still getting out of the airport, and he's like, "Yeah, the airport, yeah." I said, "Yeah, I'm doing cartwheels." He goes, "I am too." Ed Ingram ain't a Viking anymore, near as Garrett Bradbury.
Yeah, it's amazing how many games they won over the years with those two guys on the interior.
That team, those guys got Sam Darnold killed, and with another team.
Yeah. Yep, I'm with you. but everybody blames the quarterback, even though he's on his ass.
That was a great overreaction piece I did. I did do an overreaction piece for free agency last week, and people ate that up. Sam Darnold, and of course, remember, it's an overreaction piece, and I said it was an overreaction, but Sam Darnold, the Seahawks going for Geno Smith to Sam Darnold is a lateral move.
Well, you can make that up. Geno's a pretty good quarterback. I don't
that's
know.
what I said. That's what I said, and everybody loved it. But they're like, "Wow, where did you come up with that?" I said,
I think Geno's one of the more underrated quarterbacks, but I think Darnold's
Sam Darnold that much of an upgrade over Geno?
I don't think he is.
That's why I agree.
I mean, he's younger. He's much younger.
But I mean, if you're getting that same production out of Sam that you are out of Geno, I don't know.
I didn't love that move, but
I actually like the Raiders trading for him. I think that's a good bridge quarterback it buys him some time.
Well, I love the story. I love the story of Geno. Even a couple years ago when he came on, and everybody was like, "How the hell is Geno Smith playing good?" I thought that was pretty cool.
For what the Raiders have had recently, Geno's a freaking massive upgrade.
Yeah. I think people get mad when you say the definition of mid, and that's what Geno is, but that's not a bad thing.
I don't think he's mid. I think he's above average.
I think I think if I ranked him, he'd be about 15 for 16, but that's okay. You can live with that.
I'd have to run it down, but I think he's a little bit above that, but I don't know. I'd have to run it down. But I don't think he's a bad NFL quarterback. But
Zander, you know what might have triggered you on the Jeff enjoy Disney thing?
What?
When I'm just going through my Twitter with my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law saw it too. He goes, I kind of want to hear your response for this. And it was, what's keeping this man from winning a Super Bowl? And it was a picture of Dak Prescott, and I quote tweeted himself.
That's a good one.
And everybody's like, "Oh, you're such a hater." I'm like, I'm not a hater. I'm like, he has the worst playoff record percentage-wise. They're like, he plays good in the playoffs. I'm like, no, he plays good in the playoffs.
Who said
he doesn't. He doesn't. You know what?
He
pads his stats when he's down and when he plays under 500.
How many interceptions did Dak have in the last playoff game the Cowboys lost, which was to the Packers 2 years ago?
One of the greatest stats. Yeah, one of the greatest stats I've ever come up with Dak. You know, Dak's 2 playoff wins are against the combined records of the teams he has beaten in the playoffs is the lowest winning percentage in NFL history for quarterbacks with multiple playoff wins.
Well, I mean, yeah,
that's a Jeff Kerr stat.
What are we saying here? Dak Prescott's a bad quarterback?
No, not at all. But I just don't think he's got the Jalen factor.
Yeah, you got to play good in the biggest moments, man. I mean, come on, 2 or 3 picks.
Zander and I have had this. There is not a more broken evaluation system in the public than quarterback evaluation. And the impact Super Bowl play has on quarterback evaluation or
gets you in the Hall of Fame too.
Well, it's a subjective thing. That's why some people.
Well, yeah, but if I say, and here's my example coming up, Josh Sweat, who should have been the MVP in the Super Bowl.
I agree with you.
But if I say to everyone after the Super Bowl, even after the 2.5 sacks by Josh Sweat, if I say everybody, hey, you know what? Josh Sweat's not as good as Myles Garrett. Everybody, yeah, duh, dumbass. Why would you even say that? Quarterback, no. Fucking completely unhinged. Completely unhinged. Every other position. If I go Timmy Smith after 205 yards, he's not that good. Everybody's like, yeah, you're right. What an anomaly. And by the way, I'm not saying Jalen Hurts isn't very good. He's very good. But my point is, the evaluation of the position, take Jalen Hurts out of it. Could be Eli Manning. The evaluation of the position is broken. Is fucking broken.
I just
you can be honest.
I think it's a lot different with Jalen because of
I just think
I said take Jalen Hurts. The evaluation of the position is broken.
I just think Dak is a stat pattern. When it's 31-3, Dak's putting up the numbers, just like the rest.
Mahomes was padding stats too in a Super Bowl.
Patrick Mahomes had 2 of his worst games
in the Super Bowl.
ever in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Maybe his two worst games.
Yeah,
Maybe
Philly
his two
Godfather
worst
used to
games.
say this all the time. He stinks in Super Bowls.
No, he does. Like, actually, Zander, his quarterback rating in Super Bowl is like in the 70s.
It's not that good. He's not that
even the
good in Super
games,
Bowl.
even the games he won, he's not spectacular.
No.
Am I going to say he's a bad quarterback? No,
not at all.
It's broken. That evaluation of that position is fucking destroyed. It's broken. It's broken. No other position. You can be honest and have honest discussions.
I tell people,
Jalen's not a one-off anymore. It's not a one-off
I've told
anymore.
people that my discussions on quarterbacks, I look at a couple stats. I don't care if you agree or disagree. It's all subjective, like you guys said.
It is. It's largely subjective. But the one thing I would say about Jalen, because I agree with John's point, right? Like Josh Sweat has 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl. Nobody's like he's better than Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
like,
he's not
wrong on that. But I think with Jalen, it's different because now the 4-year body of work that he's done in his 4 years, it all kind of takes on a different meaning when you get to the mountaintop and you play great again in the playoffs on the way to doing it. Now that 22 Super Bowl, even with it being a loss, it gives context. This guy plays great in the biggest moments, even though he lost. Now he won one. So you look at the 4 years and you're like, geez, he gets there every year. Does it really matter if he doesn't pass my eye test? My eye test is faulty. So I think Jalen's a little bit harder, but I get what John's saying.
Yeah, I'm not, and people default to that, and they think I'm insulting Jalen Hurts. I can't fix that brokenness. I said Jalen Hurts was a good quarterback, a really good quarterback before the Super Bowl, and he is after the Super Bowl, and he would have been a good quarterback if they lost the Super Bowl. It's broken. The whole evaluation of the fucking position is broken, and I can't.
I love John Unhinged, man.
Well, what's your evaluation of Dak then, John?
Dak is a really good fucking quarterback.
He is a good quarterback.
Anybody who says else is insane. I mean, they completely fall off a cliff without him, and they're a good team with him. I think that should be an identifying fact that this guy's pretty fucking good.
I actually think his owner.
He's good. He's a choke artist, though. He choked in the playoffs.
Yeah, again, it's broken. I can't help.
Yeah, but do you disagree with that? He does throw picks in the playoffs. He's got 2 wins in 9 years.
The Dallas Cowboys, as a whole, have not played well in the playoffs, and he's part of that.
Dak specifically as well has not played good.
Again, I think I could be wrong, but I believe they had 46 active players in all those games you're talking about, and they all contribute. I know you bring up that Green Bay game. Could the fucking defense help at all?
Well, they
let Merritt Jones go berserk.
Yeah, quarterbacks hold the ball the way they touch the ball in every single play on offense. So that's why I think they obviously are going to have a different gauge than any other position on the field.
But it's broken. The gauge is broken. I agree with you.
You're wrong about it being broken. I'm just saying I think it still is a different conversation.
This is my thing. I agree with John. The defense played like absolute garbage.
Yeah, they did.
But man, you got to do more than 3 and out.
And pick, 3 and out, pick. I mean,
everybody contributes. Mike McCarthy contributes. Dak Prescott contributes.
Mike McCarthy is the worst thing. Well, to me, he's the greatest thing that ever happened to the Cowboys because you knew they weren't going to win anything.
All I'm saying is the guy is a top 10 NFL quarterback, and anybody who thinks otherwise just hates the Cowboys. And that's fine.
No,
Dak Prescott is a top 10 quarterback in the National Football.
Dak can throw the ball really well.
No, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be 60 million or whatever. Is he still number one? I don't even know.
Yeah, he is. So
he shouldn't be number one.
Personally, I would love to see Dak with another team, a more competent organization.
Did you see what Cooper Rush got as a backup in Baltimore?
Yes, that's insane.
What did he get?
He's terrible.
Like 2 years, 12, 13 million.
Yeah, what
is there any job in the NFL that's better than being a mediocre to
They had a Pro Bowl backup
mediocre low end backup, or like even just a mediocre, like all the mediocre quarterback. And I'm not trying to pick on Geno Smith, but he's a perfect example, or Sam Darnold. I feel like the medium guys, the guys who are like not great, not terrible, but in the middle, they last longer than some of the guys who are great and fall off a cliff. Like, look at Carson Wentz. Oh, the rise to the MVP. Now he's lucky to get it on a backup. Meanwhile, Geno Smith signed a $35 million a year.
I love Sam Darnold's contract. I think that's a great contract.
It's a good contract. It's just funny how these middle quarterbacks.
You know what I'm going to laugh at? How Pittsburgh got DK Metcalf And all of a sudden, they got that problem. And they got George Pickens, who's a problem. By the way, he's a Georgia guy, too. And they're not going to have a quarterback. They're going to have Mason Rudolph throwing them the football.
Yeah.
Or they're going to have to go back to Russ.
Or the other side on Seattle. They trade away Lockett and Metcalf and bring in
they
Sam
cut
Darnold.
Yeah,
They cut
they
Lockett.
Yeah.
Cut
But
him,
yeah,
yeah,
I know.
But they traded Metcalf.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, though, Jackson Smith-Njigba is a really good football
He is good.
Yeah,
He's
he is
very good.
And they
I
got
love
Cup,
him.
right? They got Cooper Cup. Is that who they signed?
Yeah, they got Cooper Kupp
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I
Can
don't
we
know
start
about that.
calling now? Jeff's not going to like this, but can we start calling Ohio State wide receiver U?
Oh, they are wide receiver. I love that title.
Yeah,
They
They're-
get everybody.
yeah.
If
Wide
you're a wide
receiver,
receiver
you.
in Ohio State, you're going to be good in the NFL. Period.
Oh, you said Ohio State. I thought you said Penn State. I'm like,
No,
that's
Ohio
better than Ron
State.
Dotson. Who are we talking? I don't know. I think LSU still has that crown. When you got
Ohio
Jamar Chase-
State.
That's Ohio State.
when you
Look
have
at the
Jamar
guys
Chase
that are
and Justin Jefferson,
Well,
they're
they got
arguably the best
they got
receivers.
the top guys LSU, but I think
Yeah.
Ohio State is deeper.
I'll
Yeah,
say
they
this. As a guy who covered Brian Hartline when he was in college, I said he is the best route runner I have ever seen. I don't care, college or pro. That guy can recruit. That guy can coach. Holy crap, does he just produce wide receiver after wide receiver?
Who, Jeff? Who are you talking about?
Brian Hartline.
Right. He's
Oh,
their
oh,
he's
yeah,
their
yeah.
coach. He's their
Yeah,
wide
he's the
receiver.
coach, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that guy ran the most crispest route. I said, he don't make
I'm
it in
going
the
to tell
NFL.
you. I'm going to tell you the guy year 13, I believe.
Adam Thielen. Yep.
Nobody runs better.
Hooked on the Thielen.
Nobody.
That's one of my favorite Chris Berman's. Hooked on
Year
the Thielen.
13. Year 13, that guy has made it to.
He's
One of my
incredible.
favorite Nick Sirianni quotes. Some reason I brought it up a couple weeks ago when I was asking him about tryout players at rookie camp one year. He said, "I said, what's your philosophy when you have these tryouts? You only have them for a very short window." And Nick Sirianni said,
Adam Thielen.
"Don't miss Adam Thielen."
Yep.
That's his philosophy. Because Adam Thielen wasn't even an undrafted guy. He had to come in as a rookie tryout guy.
He was a D. Was it D2 or D3 he came out of?
Whatever Minnesota State is, I think it's 2.
Well, Minnesota State's where Hayden Fox won a national championship.
Yeah. Well, they changed it because of Hayden Fox.
Yeah.
It was Mankato State for years.
Yeah, it was Mankato State. Yeah.
And then that show, for those who don't know, Coach was a popular show back in the
For those
day.
of you SpongeBob fans, Patrick Starr is also Dauber Dubinsky.
Yeah. Coach with what's his name? Who's
Greg T. Nelson.
Greg T. Nelson. Thank you.
I'm rewatching Coach, by the way.
It became a popular show, and it was a fictional team at the time, Minnesota State, but it was so popular they changed Mankato State to Minnesota State.
I think it's Minnesota Mankato. I think that's the title now, where he's at.
Now, well, it's Minnesota State Mankato because there's other Minnesota states, but yeah, it's Minnesota State.
You know, John, I'm going to get you a Screaming Eagles t-shirt.
Scream it. They are not the Screaming Eagles, though. I forget their
No.
nickname.
No,
But-
it's not. But yeah, you know what? I don't know how Hayden Fox did it, man. He had Howard Burley as his AD. He had to deal with Riley Pringle and Judy Watkins every day. Oh, and he was a miserable, you know what?
Hayden Fox and a legendary coach. Yeah.
Took Luther Van Dam and Dauber Dubinsky.
He had a very small coaching staff. That would bother me. That bothered me about that show, Jeff.
So in the early seasons, I don't know if you ever noticed, John. I don't know if you watched Coach recently. They do show the other coaches, but they're
do
like
they?
background guys. Yeah,
All
like
right.
he actually has a staff, but it's like
All
Luther and Dauber are his
Yeah.
guys, which is hilarious.
The Mavericks, by the way, Mankato State Mavericks, now
Mavericks.
Minnesota State Mavericks. There you have it. Not the Screaming Eagles.
I like it.
Good stuff. Jeff Kerr, thanks for joining in today, brother. Hope you had a great vacation. It's back to work, brother.
Yeah, we got you back to work. Sorry, Jeff. Sorry.
That's all right. Philly season starts in a week. I'm already ramping that stuff.
Are the
All
Phillies
right,
going to be
well,
any good? Are they?
why-
worried?
They're going to be good. They're
Why
gonna
are
be
we
good.
even playing baseball? Give it to the Dodgers.
They ain't
All right.
beating the Dodgers.
He already
No
gave
way.
up. His Yankees are lost Garrett Cole and
Yankees
Still,
might be screwed this year.
they're out,
The
man.
Yankees are crippled, man.
Yeah, they're too old.
It's
They got
funny
old.
you sign 35-year-old guys and they break down.
And they break
Yeah.
down. It's funny how that works.
Yep, they waited. Yep, their window's
Yeah.
closing up, I think, on New York. But all right, Jeff, we appreciate it, man. We'll see what happens. We'll be following all your work, and we'll talk to you again next week on Birds 365. Thank you, brother.
Yep. See you guys next Monday.
All right,
See you, bud.
Jeff Kerr joining in here on Birds 365. Great stuff from Jeff Kerr. A good conversation.
I'm sure people are pissed off that we went on tangents that didn't involve the Eagles.
Well, I love tangents. Tangents sometimes are a necessary program.
Oh, they're very necessary.
They're very necessary program. Are you kidding me? Everybody has a tangent once in a while. What would we be, John? We'd be robots if we didn't go on tangents every once in a while.
Where else are you going to get coach knowledge, coach TV knowledge?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Let's get to. We got a couple of super chats I want to get to. Rashid Mixon, what's up, bro? Remember for 7 months. Thank you, bro. Stay around because we got I got a bunch more merch, Eagle merch, Super Bowl merch now to add to the chamber for the giveaway. So we'll be doing that. Rashid says, good morning, fellas. What was Azeez games per year played and sacks total each year played? Didn't he fall out of favor due to the Giants who drafted him? So Rashid, I'll give you a quick rundown on it. He had a very strong start to his career. He had 8 sacks his rookie year, which was a Giants record. And then I think he went 5.5, 2.5, and then 6 last
He played
year.
17 games. I don't have it. He played 17, then he played 7, 11, 7, something like that. He's missed
so he
a
had
bunch of
17
games.
starting, 13 games started, 8 sacks rookie year. Second year, he had 5.5 sacks, but only played 7 games. And then 23, he had 11 games, 2.5 sacks. And then last year, 11 games, 6 sacks. So 8, 5.5, 2.5, 6.
22 games, I believe, over the last 3 years with a host of injuries. Some soft tissue, ankle, toe, quad, hamstring, calf, I believe, was in there.
Yeah.
Bunch of soft tissue injuries. So that's something to keep an eye on. But he's missed a bunch of games over the last 3 years.
Yeah. John, do you think, and I know you're going to hate this question. That's all right, though. I'll ask it anyway. Is he your best chance at a Zach Vaughn-esque? Not saying all pro, just a guy that's a good. Is he your best chance?
Let's go Chris Long. How about Chris Long?
Yeah, that's fine. A best chance of a guy.
Yes, I already said he is. Of the group, yes. Of the group, he's got the highest upside.
Yeah, we'll see.
I like the group. Now, I don't think he has the floor. Like to me, Adoree Jackson is the guy people should be most confident in because he's going to make this team and he's going to be a part of this team, barring injury or something like that. I'm very confident in that. He can still play. And then Harrison Bryant would be my number 2 in that realm. But their upsides, I think, are limited at this stage. The guy with the biggest upside by far to me is Ojulari, followed by Uche at the same position. And then AJ Dillon. You know, God forbid Saquon gets hurt and AJ Dillon is healthy. He could do some things if he's healthy. I have no idea if he's healthy, but there's some upside there because he was a good player. It's not Saquon, but he was a good player in Green Bay. So those are the 3 guys with the upside, in my opinion.
Yep, good stuff there. Dank Bird Gang checks in. I'm not a baby face. I'm not a heel. I'm a human being.
There's a John Cena reference.
Yeah, I saw it. I watched it. So
I wasn't in love with that. I get what they're trying to do. See, the problem with fans, and they're in Europe, and those fans are even crazier than the fans here. I mean, they're part of the show at this point. They do a tremendous job, but there's this whole mentality like heels are cool. Like back in the old days, baby faces were, people did what they were supposed to do. And they were supposed to cheer the baby face and hate the heel. Nowadays, heels are cool. And you see it with the pop. As soon as the music hits, people go nuts when Cena shows up. And then they remember, oh, we're supposed to not like the guy now.
Yeah. Right.
Same thing happens with Rock. Every time Dwayne Johnson comes out, people lose their minds. And then he insults the crowd and turns them because he's a heel. So with Cena, there was the thought that they would change his goofy baby face outfit and his goopy baby face music, although his music's fine, but they didn't change anything because they didn't want the fans thinking he was cool because he turned on Cody Rhodes. They want the fans to hate him. So I thought that was interesting. But I didn't love the promo. I didn't love it. Too much whining.
What was he, like 20 years as the babyface does? So you got to try and
yeah.
I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm a wreck. I don't know shit, so I'm not the right guy. But I can at least ask the questions of. I thought because he's been a babyface for so long, he had to make some. He had to go up there and say some stuff to the crowd to actually make him a little bit of a villain, and I thought he did that a little bit.
Well, I have no problem. Yeah, that's the goal. I just think it was more of a whiny, like. And he's right. That's
part of it. With Cody Rhodes. Didn't he call him whiny yesterday?
Yeah. It was more of a whiny. I'm a human being, as Dank Bird Game put in there. I'm not a baby. I'm a human being. And they have treated him like shit. Everything is part true. But I thought, like, I want him to be a killer. I don't want him to be oh, you're mean to me.
Yeah,
like,
a whiny little bitch like Cody.
Yeah. I don't, oh, you're mean to me. Yeah. No, I wanted him to be, make fun of the kid, but be a killer about it. That's all. That's the way I would have went.
I got you. I tell you what, 3 p.m. not ideal for me. I mean, I'm working hard at 3.
Well, I didn't watch it at live, but that's the beauty of Netflix, man. You go on anytime and it's there.
Netflix is nice. Bald Eagle checks in. What's up, Bald? He says Dak is like A-Rod on the Yankees. He's hit 30 home runs, but the Yankees would be up 9-1. But when the Yankees were down 3-2, he struck out.
Yeah, Hall of Fame player. Alex Rodriguez. Really? You're going Alex Rodriguez?
Bald, you don't want to test John on the Yankees. I mean, John's.
Yeah, and by the way, he did, win. He did win. Now people will always bring up. And I've never met Alex personally, but it's a little bit of swarminess there. But I mean, that's one of the greatest baseball players that ever lived. I mean, I don't think he hit 700 home runs, but he was awfully close. Awfully close.
All right, let's keep rolling here. Let me go. Anthony Wilson checks in. Everything not for the public. Slay talks too much.
Yeah, well, no offense, Anthony, but I don't get fans. Like, I don't get all you want is validation, people. I want truth. He was asked a question about Reed Blankenship. Not about Reed Blankenship. He was asked a question about who the leader is going to be in the secondary. He told you the truth. Vic Fangio already told you the truth before Slay did. Why would you have a problem with that? Now, if you want to say, look, I don't think players should do podcasts because that's the way the teams feel, because, they don't want any of this controversy or when this kind of shit happens, because you can't control the outside world,
right? Which
I get from an organizational perspective, but I don't necessarily get it from a fan perspective. Don't you want to hear from your favorite players? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get the whole philosophy.
Well, I think some stuff could be kept in house. I think that's what people think. Even if you want to say it, does the truth need to be revealed publicly? When you're have a locker room, you're a leader in that locker room. There's 53 men in that locker room that, you have to keep fighting for a common goal, a common vision. I understand that perspective. Like, it's like airing dirty laundry. You don't come out and air the laundry that you and your wife have, right? I mean, I think it's that.
And even more so is the quarterback thing, I guess. Again, the brokenness of the quarterback thing. That, first of all, Slay and Jalen Hurts get along famously. Slay said what he said, whatever he said, the 4 guys, which everybody in the NFL agrees with. So again, you're penalizing a guy for telling the truth. That's on you. That's not on Slay. Now, should he be on podcast? You can debate that. keep it in-house if you want to keep it in-house, but you can't do that, unfortunately. Actually, fortunately, from my perspective, I think fortunately from most level-headed perspectives, you don't want to hamstring people from doing things that they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, from an organizational perspective, they don't want them doing that, but there's nothing you can do. It's a free country still, as we may be getting worse, but I mean, what are you going to do? You can't talk on a podcast?
Yeah, it's true. You just got to try and balance it the best you can, but I think that's you get a guy like Slay, boy. I mean, he's a talker for sure. He's
definitely a talker.
Yeah, he's going to air some stuff out there. If Jalen Hurts launched the podcast, I don't know if you'd get much. You wouldn't get much info.
It'd be boring unless he changed his approach. It'd be very boring.
Well, he's got the TV. He's got the slogans, man. He's got the T-shirt slogans. There'd be a T-shirt coming out of every episode.
Yeah, you got to come up with more. It's like Deshaun and LaShawn when they had their podcast. Basically, all it became was Rip and Chip Kelly. At some point, you got to shift gears. You got to come up with other subjects.
Wait, is that show done? They're not done that show.
Yeah,
are they?
they're done. Deshaun's coaching now.
So the 25.
I think they're done. LaShawn does obviously analyst work, but Deshaun's coaching. What is it? Delaware State.
Yeah, I thought it was a good. I thought it was a good show, but you're right. They haven't posted in a month, so maybe they're done. The 25.
I assume they're done because he's.
No, that makes sense because Deshaun's coaching. So, and Shady does a good job on that FS1 show with Emmanuel and Emmanuel Acho and who's the other guy? Chase Daniel and James Jones. I think that's a good show. Eagle fan loves ripping on that show. I think it's a good show.
Never seen it a day in my life. Seen clips.
Yeah, you've seen clips.
Never watched it a day in my life, so I can't really speak on it.
You don't like sports programs at all, do you?
I do not.
No, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest bit.
I don't, for two reasons. There's I don't want anybody messing with my opinion of things because I try to be honest and objective, and I don't want to hear other people's thoughts.
That's fair. I like that. I like that take.
But number two, I mean, again, people are going to take it the wrong way, but I try to elevate the conversation. I don't think those shows try to elevate the conversation.
They don't try to elevate the conversation. And but you understand this though. You're smart enough to understand. It's the business, John.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
Are, we can criticize.
They're more popular than me for a reason, but they're gripping you. That's what I say all the time. So just be aware.
They're going for engagement as much as they can. Texas T, the facility sucks. I think it's all right. Come on, Texas T. I think it's all right. But good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, 9 minutes left on the show today. The Temu signings continued. You teased you're heading down to the NovaCare complex today, so we'll keep our eyes on anything that comes out regarding
Tentatively, because it still hasn't come out. I thought it'd be out by now, but it still hasn't come out. So.
No, it still hasn't dropped in Eagle Land. So we will stay locked in on that. But John, the roster, or at least the bodies that you're bringing to camp in June and July and August is starting to come together. A whole lot of cheap 1-year deals for this football team, and still got the draft to go. But how do you think this roster's shaping up right now? Still a long way to go, but as it stands on March 18th, how do you think it's shaping up?
I mean, they've lost more than they've gained. I think that's pretty obvious.
It's very obvious. Yep.
So, I think some of the early angst has been stemmed a little bit just by the number of players they brought in. 9 players, that's a lot of players. And you think about the 2 trade acquisitions as well. So that turns it into 11 total new players. It's a lot of turnover. Now you get a lot of turnover in the NFL. But I think if what you see going out, you saw how Milton Williams played last year. You saw how Josh Sweat played last year. You saw how Isaiah Rodgers played last year. You saw how Oren Burks played last year, even Kenny Gainwell. Certainly Mekhi Becton should have mentioned him early. That's a lot of good proven players starters, role players, backup players who stepped up. In the case of Burks and Rodgers, that's a lot to replace, and they haven't replaced it in the clearance aisle. I'm giving too much free publicity to Tamu, so I'm going to go back to clearance. It's a lot to replace in the clearance aisle. That's why the draft is more important. The draft to me is far more important.
I'm telling
and
you. Yeah, good.
They're on a 3-year heater in the draft. Now, some of that has taken some time. Jacoby, Jordan Davis, some people think he hasn't. Obviously, it took some time with Nolan Smith. Last year was more immediate. And I don't know if you can count on immediate, but draft over the next 2 years is going to be very, very important for this team.
No.
And obviously, they're drafting late, so it makes it more difficult.
They have been one of the best drafting teams in the last 4 years. That doesn't mean they're going to be in the next 4, but with the way they're operating right now, I think they're what are they, 17 of 18 of their last top 3 round picks have been contributors, or top 4. I forget the stat I saw. And the only guy who wasn't was Kayvon Wallace, and he did play his rookie year. He was a contributor on special teams as well. So they're doing pretty good in the draft right now. That's one thing you got to give them credit for.
Yeah, that's what I said. They've been on a great run. Yeah. Odds are, and the part of it that makes it more difficult, they're starting 32nd, because they won the Super Bowl. So most of those years, not most, all of those years, they weren't starting 32nd. A lot of those years they were good, but it's easier to get a pick at 13 than it is to get a pick at 32. Common sense.
It's true. Yep.
So,
although they have been pretty good in these late. I mean, Nolan Smith looks like it right now. He's going to work out. We'll see.
He was 30th.
Dickerson, Juergens, weren't they in the 30s? Cooper DeJean was in 40. So they've been decent in that spot too. But there's no doubt it's harder.
Yeah. Well, second round. I mean, I'm not. Obviously, everybody's. As you go lower, it becomes more difficult. And yeah, anytime you hit on second round picks, and they took some chances with Landon. He was coming off an ACL. Would have been a first round pick, and they took a shot and it worked. Cam was 51st, great pick. People hated it at the time. Great pick. So yeah, you can find players all over the place. Jacoby was a 3rd round pick. Took some time, but really developed, really came on last year. And then, they had some premium picks. Jalen Carter was a premium pick.
Yep.
Devontae Smith was a premium pick. Jordan Davis was a premium pick. It's a lot, Devontae Smith was 10. Jalen Carter was 9, I believe. 9 or 10. Jordan was 13. I mean, there's a big difference between 9, 10, and 13 and 32. Big difference.
Yeah, no, huge difference. So we'll see what they do this year. They got to keep building. Got to keep drafting well, and especially with where they are right now. I mean, the drafting is going to be even more important now because they're shedding talent, because so many people are getting paid on offense. So we're going to see. John, here's one thing I said, and we'll close the show out with this thought. One thing I've been saying on the National Football Show, as it appears, and I might have said it to you before, but in my estimation, if the Eagles are going to be a Super Bowl contender next year, the offense is going to have to be better, because you're losing guys from defense because everybody's paid on offense. And I'm not saying the offense wasn't good last year, but they weren't really the reason that we won games as consistently as the defense was the reason that we won games. I think that's the switch next year, because you can't rely on this much turnover on the defense for them to be number one again. I think it's time for that $200 million offense to be the reason the Philadelphia Eagles win games moving forward.
Well, I think you need them both. And the offense was good. It's been good. It was good in 2023, to be honest. I talk about it all the time. In a lot of ways, metrically, they were better in 2023 than 2024. People don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. But But obviously the defense took the big spike up. You can't take a big spike down. The offense can stay 5 to 10, somewhere in that range. Hopefully it gets better. Hopefully you have more efficiency, more balance. Hopefully you have all that stuff. But they're going to be good because they have too many good players on offense. On defense, there's more room for, that gesticulation they went from bottom to top. As long as they go from top to top 10, I think you're fine. But if you start falling to 20, somewhere in that range,
I don't think they're going to fall to 20.
Then it becomes an issue. Yeah, but people are going to have confidence in Vic Fangio, rightfully so, after last season. And they do have, remember, they're not paying him now, but they're going to be paying him. And that's Jalen Carter and Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Those players got to keep getting better. The foundational defensive players, Zach Bond, they got to keep. I don't know if Zach can get better, but he's got to stay in that range. They got to keep getting better.
Yeah, we had Marcus Hayes on yesterday on the show. He was like, I'm not worried at all. You got 10 guys on this team who are supposed to get better next year that are going to make up for some of the losses. So, everybody's got a different perspective on it, but
they might have 10 players who are supposed to get better, but Marcus has been around long enough to know they're not all going to get better.
Yeah, he is. That's for sure. We got one super chat here on the way out. Mills, I think Mills is a Cowboy fan. I'm guessing. Mills, are you a Cowboy fan? He says AJ to Patriots for the 4th pick is tempting.
What is tempting about that? Oh, 4th pick
for the New England Patriots.
I'm sorry. That is very tempting. That would never happen in a million years.
No,
I read it real quick and I thought he was talking about a 4th round pick.
Okay, yeah, no, not tempting.
4th is very tempting. No one's trading the board. AJ Brown, for those who watch this show, should know I am the huge AJ Brown fan. I still believe he's the best pure football player on the Philadelphia Eagles. He ain't getting you the 4th pick.
No.
You're trading the contract as well.
There was a day on this show, John, or on the network, on a full day on the network, that people were talking about the 4th pick and Christian Gonzalez for AJ Brown. I'm like, what the hell are we smoking in this town right now? You're not getting that much for a receiver who's making $32 million a year.
Yeah. And the point, I said all that because no one thinks more of AJ as a football player than me. Maybe Nick Sirianni, but that's about it. I think very highly of the player. He ain't getting you the 4th pick.
No, he's not.
It's not how the NFL works.
All right, Johnny Mac, I guess we can't dive into what we have teased, but we will wrap up Birds 365 here today. Your final thoughts on this Tuesday, Temu Tuesday is what it will be called. Actually, I think, they get better advertising from us than they do from all the ads they pay for.
Yeah, I know. I got to say, Clearance Aisle Tuesday. Still got some more clearance items, safety, defensive tackle. There's still some more time for some clearance aisle items. And we'll see as the Eagles pick through it. I once got a nice Mickey Mantle portrait at the Walmart clearance aisle. It's like $50. I got it for $5. You never know.
Every once in a while, you go to TJ Maxx, you get yourself a pair of shorts you wear.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Sometimes there's diamonds in the rough, and we grew up. I loved TJ Maxx growing up as, $8 for a pair of shorts, and my mom would do it. So I loved TJ Maxx growing up, but I haven't been in a while. I got to be honest.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should hit there. Get the Ojulari special.
I got to call Howie before. You got to give me a game. Howie, what am I looking for in here? How do I extract the most value from this store? So I'll have to do that. Johnny Mac, good show today, brother. We'll talk to you maybe later on today on a Football 24/7. And if not, I'll catch you tomorrow on Birds 365.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We cracked 1,000 again. We got to keep it. We're on quite the streak.
Yeah, we're crushing it, man. The viewers have, by the way, John, I went and I did the full number polls for Birds 365 on the season. I got to send you over some stuff because not only did we have a great year, but we had a major growth major growth, like over 70% growth from year over year. So really good stuff on Birds 365 this year. I'm very proud of it. And we appreciate all of you guys for making it happen. And John, obviously you are the number one voice here on Birds 365, and we love you for it. So John, good stuff, brother. We will talk to you either later on today or tomorrow on the show.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right. There's Johnny Mac joining in here on Birds 365, a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. Look at Mills stirring the pot. Our resident Cowboy fan. Our new resident Cowboy fan. Where's Mills? I saw his comment. Yeah, yes, I'm a Boys fan. You know, Mills, I love the Cowboy fans who come in. All right. I love the Cowboy fans who come in. All right. We got plenty of you. We got Blue Virus. We got you. We got Texas Boy. Texas Boy's kind of disgruntled. He's like he's not as fun. He's an asshole. And he doesn't have fun in the chat. Mills comes and stirs it up a little bit. Blue Virus stirs it up a little bit. So, you know, we love our Cowboy fans here. We love our Cowboy fans. Good stuff. I'm going to make sure I get everybody. Mike Guru becomes a member. Mike, thank you, brother. Appreciate the support. Appreciate you becoming a member. Appreciate everybody tuning in. You know, I get some of these comments sometimes here. You know, I don't mean this with disrespect, by the way, but I don't care that I will address it. This guy, he's watching from Twitch. We don't get a lot of Twitch watchers. Twitch I just use as a backup, basically, for clips. He says, we miss Jody Mack. You know, I thought that was true, too, until I looked at the numbers explosion. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but, you know, Birds 365 numbers were up 72% year over year on the live show from last season to this season. Last season to this season. And it's not done by overall totality, because you could argue Super Bowl. I'm talking about month to month, September's, October's, November's, December's. All right. All right. So I don't miss them. I don't miss them. All right. I don't miss them. Bird Gang says, speak for yourself, Z. I don't like any Cowboys fans. I like human beings. I don't care who you're a sports team of. All right. I don't care who you're. I obviously I like Eagle fans the best. All right. Obviously I like Eagles fans the best, but I like good people. That's what I like. I like good people, and I like having conversation with good people. I'm not shading Jody Mack. Jody Mack is one of the originators of sports radio. I am not shading Jody Mack. But if you're asking me if I miss him on Birds 365, the answer is no, I do not. I don't at all, to be honest with you. Not even a little bit. There's not even an inch. There's not even a 1% in me that misses that. Not 1%. All right. Not 1%. I'm loyal to the numbers. I'm loyal to what makes us dollars. Because at the end of the day, you know, I got to put food on the table, everybody. I got to put food on the table. All right, I was thinking of doing a giveaway to that. What I'm really waiting for is I'm waiting for this news to drop. All right. Yes, I have a piece of news that we teased on the show today that I have. All right. And I'm waiting to share it, because I'm going to get off the air and then I'm going to have to go live right again. All right. I'm waiting for this news to drop. Anybody want to guess what the news is? It's nothing crazy. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing crazy at all. News on AJ. Yeah, that Mills, that trade's coming, dog. That trade is coming, dog. That trade is coming. Signing Malik Neighbors. Leon Banks with a new profile picture. Leon, your other profile picture was so memorable. So memorable. Now it's gone. Now it is gone. You got the bricks. I did not get the bricks. Yo, for reals, I'm about this close, though, from being very financially irresponsible and buying them on resale. Nah, no more Kangos coming in. I did my spring order already. I'll have to wait for their summer drop. I mean, I ordered basically every spring color they released. All right, M. Reyes getting a show. M. Reyes, that would be a home run. That would be a grand slam. Are you kidding me? M. Reyes, email me. Let's talk some business, my brother. All right. Robbie, you're on to me, Robbie. You're on to me, Robbie. Let's see. I want it to be announced though. I want the whole shebang because he deserves it. He deserves the shebang. Robbie. Yo, Robbie. JAKIB getting sponsored by Timo. They owe us money, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, how much? I'm seeing Timo everywhere now. People love to shit on JAKIB. I'm telling you what, they all listen, though. They all listen. Even our biggest haters listen. You know how I know that? Because I get hate emails. I don't listen to this dumbass show. This guy predicted 5 wins. I'm like, well, how'd you know he predicted 5 wins, dickhead? Didn't you say Nolan Smith was a bust? How'd you know I said that? Because you listen to the show, dickhead. I love that. I love dumbasses. I love dumbasses. Nah, Tim, not that good. Timu is big time. Let's get that sponsorship right on the bench. We should get that. You know what I really want? I want a Kango sponsorship, which I've been working on, but they don't really do that, so it would be uncharted territory. And I want. How do I get a shoe sponsorship? Jalen Hurts. How do I become a Jordan athlete or a Jordan talk show host? How do I do this, Jalen Hurts? Joe Whip, Crimedy, I get recognized for being on the show. You should, Joe. You're one of our greatest listeners. You're one of our greatest listeners here. Come on, news drop. Zander and Jalen, brand ambassadors for Kang. I don't know. I think I might have him beat. Man, I got a lot of Kangos in this studio. Look, that's a stack of them. See that down there? That's another stack of them. That's another stack. And then the bottom row, which you cannot see from the banner. All right. They're all Kangos. I probably have 50 of them in this office easily. You guys should see my dad's setup. My dad's I've never seen anything like it. I knew my dad had a lot of Kangos. All right. I knew he had a lot of Kangos. I did not know he had that many Kangos. He showed me the other day. What the fuck? He has, yes, dude, he has like 50 alone that still have tags on them, Josh. All right. He has 50. See, I get him. I take off the tags immediately and I start wearing them. Quick. I will say that once they break in, they fit the head a lot better. Like I got a couple over here that, this is a deep plum. I love that one, but it doesn't fit the head. I got to break it in a little bit more. All right. Nike likes sponsoring the YouTube folks. Yes, they do, Eduardo. Yo, I might launch a channel. What do you think? I might have to launch a YouTube channel that they'll sponsor. There's a bunch of dudes. I don't know, for anybody who's into kicks, I know some of you guys are. Some of you were trolling me for I don't really give a shit what you guys like. You guys can like what you like, buy what you like. I don't give a shit, all right? I like hats and I like buying shoes, all right, every once in a while here. I was looking at content on sneakers the other day, and it's crazy because I was looking and I saw this show. It's called Culture Kicks. Like for anybody that knows or follows sneakers, you might have seen them. They have shorts and, he goes to all the sneaker events and he like trades with people and stuff. And I'm looking and I'm like, holy shit. The dude that started it was his little brother was like one of my best friends in high school. And he's a little older than me. But Chase Young, his name is. He played college lacrosse at Michigan. And his younger brother, Jordan Young, was the grade below me at St. Joe's Prep, but he was one of my best friends. I have some hilarious photos of me and Jordan Young on my phone. But I thought that was interesting. I'm like, holy shit, I got to try and connect with the Youngs again and see. So he's got a huge ass sneaker company, and I think he's got like a million followers on Instagram. So pretty cool. I was interested in that though. It's funny how it's a small world, right? What's dropping today? Mad Bird, what's dropping today? I'm about to stay on the air until this news drops. I know it's coming. It's got to come. It's got to come. The Roshis, nice. Those are old school. Not super old school, but like old school for me, like high school. I think I used to rock Roshis. Actually, no, college. I think I rocked Roshis. I left a pair on spring break. I left a pair on spring break. I was pissed. Come on, news. It's not huge news. It's not going to like change the trajectory of the Eagles. Well, maybe it could. Maybe it will. Leon says, what kind of shoes you like? I'm big into Nike SBs. My favorite pair are the Powder Power Puffs. Also, I have a Pokemon tournament this week, hence the new pick. Leon, I don't do Pokemon, so I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Nike SBs are cool, though. I like Jordans, Nikes. I like a bunch of stuff, man. I like a bunch of stuff. What I don't know. I have a shoe rack upstairs. I need to get another shoe rack because let me show you. I got like, look at all the shoes on the ground. I got to get them on a rack. You see all those? What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs of shoes on the ground right there. I got to clean that up. That's a little bit sloppy on my part. No, I just messed up my camera. That's a little sloppy on my part. Rolex endorsement? That'd be sick. I want the, what's the green one? The Masters one? I want that one for the Eagles. Shoes and hats are an addiction. They're a minor addiction. I wouldn't put shoes in that category for me. I would put hats in that category. Every time a new Kango releases, I like have to buy it. If a new Kango color comes out and I like it, all right, I do it. I do it. I buy it. Done. Purchased. The Travis Scott olives, I think you're talking about. Yeah, they're nice. I don't have any Travis Scotts. I'm gonna end the show. I'm waiting. Bruce Banner with a wild comment. All right, I'm ending the show. I guess we'll be ready to go live later. All right, we'll be ready to go live later when this stuff drops. But I appreciate all you guys listening in today. Again, thank you all. We've had massive numbers on Birds 365. Again, my opinion is irrelevant. Your opinion is irrelevant. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So you look at the numbers that we had on Birds 365 this year. The show is growing like a weed, faster than anything we got. So we appreciate all of you guys for checking in, for hitting the like button, for commenting down below. I love catching up with you guys, reading all your guys' comments. You guys are my friends. You're my family. I tell you guys this all the time. All right. Breaking news. John McMullen is adopting Jeff Kerr. He will legally change his name to Timu McMullen. Yo, Bob, you guys got to stop ripping on my boy Jeff Kerr. All right. You know what? I just called you family. I'm going to have to, have a tough conversation with my family. Why are we ripping on Jeff Kerr? He's my boy. I fucking love Jeff Kerr. Takes a lot of time out of his busy day to come here and talk to the great people. And you guys got some shit to talk on all the time. Thank you, Tim. I love the Jeff Kerr segments too. People love ripping on Jeff Kerr. But the one thing I love, if you go to Jeff's Twitter, he rips back at people. It's hilarious, man. And he's pretty good at it. Yeah, I'm a big Kerr fan. I like Kerr. He's quirky, but I like quirky people. The last thing I want is if everybody sounds the fucking same. I hate that. I don't want people that all sound the same. I like people who are quirky. I'm quirky. I think that's why you guys listen to me, because I'm quirky. I'm weird. I wear tangos, and you're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Maybe that's why. Maybe it's not. I'm not really sure. Families rip each other. Yes, they do. Mills is back. Dak is back, ready for MVP. Dak has 2 playoff wins in 10 years. That guy ain't winning fucking shit. All right, Mills, enjoy it. All right, enjoy it. Enjoy getting him back. Enjoy the hype. But your Super Bowl is now, because you guys get all hype about the year. You guys don't have a chance in hell at winning this year. Curtis says, I thought it was funny he came in heated over a Twitter loser, but I like him. Agree with you on having personality, Z. Thanks, Curtis. We don't rip on the show, Z. Who don't we rip on? That's a good question. I don't know. You guys rip me too. It's all good. I can take it though. I can take it. I know my family members are going to rip on me here and there. Okay, so the news is coming out basically. If you want to see what I'm talking about, go look at the Eagles' latest tweet. I'll pull it up. On the screen right now. Here we go. Let's pull it up. No, I don't want to do that. Here we go. So the Eagles just tweeted out this photo of Brandon Graham at the Rocky statue with looks like cleats hanging over the Rocky statue. And they say it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. I don't know why they used that quote for this. And then they said, stay tuned for an announcement from Brandon Graham at noon today. All right, so I think you all know where we're going with this. All right, I will not insult your intelligence. I think we all know where we're going with this. I love Brandon Graham. He's my favorite Eagle of all time. As it stands right now, he's my favorite Eagle of all time. For me, for my age, for when I started watching the team, for when I became a diehard fan, for the era of football I've been most in tune with, Brandon Graham is my favorite Eagle of all time. It's not Brian Dawkins, who's too early for me. It's Abe, who's a little too early for me. I loved him, but, I remember every part of Brandon Graham's career. 15 years. 15 fucking years he played, man. 15 years. Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable. But, all right, looks like they're going to announce it at noon, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe it's returning for a year. Who knows? But Rocky statue means one more year. Maybe. This is what I think, Ian East, I'm with you, man. They need to keep BG on the staff. Barb says, oh, my God, I thought Hurts was your favorite. I don't know if he could be. He's on that trajectory, Barb. The one thing I love about Jalen is I really love all the – I love his mentality, his mindset. I love the – people joke about the T-shirt quotes. I joke about him all the time. I love him because I think he practices what he preaches. I don't think he's a fuddy. I don't think he's a fraud. I think he believes it. I think he says what he means. He means what he says. He says what he means. And he follows through with it. Curtis says, I got 10 years on UZ, so I got in here. Time for Brian Dawkins. That's a good error, man. BG is Mr. Eagle, though. Mike Guru. Mike, thanks for becoming a member, bro. I appreciate you. He says Cunningham for my old ass. Now, Cunningham is probably my favorite Eagle that was before my era. I go back and watch Cunningham highlights and stuff. That was pretty good. All beginnings have an end. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah, that Bird Gang Girl, you're more onto it. I think KCA was looking for any sliver of hope. All right. I feel like he's hanging up the cleats since they used that pick. That's exactly what that means, Bird Gang Girl. Good pickup by you. All right. Good pickup by you. Hanging up the cleats. For Real says, BG gonna say I didn't hear no bell ring. One more round. I love it. That would be sick. If he turns it on us like that, that would be sick. But damn. BG. I hope he comes back, but he won't. Legendary Eagle. Love him. All right, everybody. Appreciate you all tuning in today. Listen to me blabble about Kangos and shoes and all sorts of shit. But I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, for liking, sharing, subscribing. We'll catch you next time on Birds 365. Thank you all.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.